Wake up everyone, new person to cyberbully just dropped. Oh wait, no. Penelope's probably into that. Before we begin the video, just a quick one to say that in the past month, the UK has been plagued with racist riots up and down the country. So I'd just like to take a moment to promote some of the GoFundMes for people who have been directly affected by the riots, whether it's carers whose cars have been trashed or families who have been the victim of racially motivated assaults. I'm going to put a few up on the screen and I'm going to link them down in the description box and in the pinned comment. If you have the means, please consider donating. If you don't have the means, please consider sharing or helping to raise awareness. Thank you, and let's get on with the video. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are looking at the book Until You, which is the retelling of Bully by Penelope Douglas, but this is from Jared's perspective, so you just know it's going to be some of the most unhinged shit you've ever seen. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, comment for the engagement, check out my memberships. Let's just get on with it. Pretty long video. Let's just get on with it.
You have no idea.
Oh, also the script editor for this video was my mate Rob. He took it upon himself to film like some Family Guy-esque cutaways for this video to really put us all into helping out.
Welcome to Super Friends.
Do you know why? When I did the first Bully video, it's one of my best mates, he started messaging me because he was watching it. And he had so much to say about it, and I was like, if you've got this much to say, here's the script for my second one. Edit it, go nuts, go wild. So if I sound a little bit more like I know what I'm talking about, it's probably one of his annotations. Author's note. This book was never supposed to be written. Neither was the first one, but that didn't stop you, did it? After I published Bully, I realised Jared's story was just as important as Tate's. And to be honest, the readers fought hard for his point of view. They wanted to know his side of the story. The scary part is these readers exist, they live among us, and can vote. I've worked hard to give you, remember to vote, whenever it is in England. I've worked hard to give you something different. This is not a retelling of Bully. This is not just a retelling of Bully. It's also 300 pages of badly written abuse and sexual harassment apologia. So buckle up, ladies, and make sure you've asked for your boyfriend's permission to use the internet, because we're going for a ride and the driver is drunk. Then there's this playlist of songs for Jared. And oh my god, who the hell cares? Why do authors keep doing this? Apparently it's because the authors are self-aware. Okay, that's a bit of a stretch. The authors might be aware that the substance of their books isn't quite enough. So they're now like, it's a common enough thing I've noticed in these types of books, playlists, that you can listen along to while how can you listen to stuff and read at the same time? I could never. Anyway, let's just get on with it. Prologue. Jared is 10 and is meeting Tate for the first time. There was a kid living next door now, probably 10 years old, like me, and I'd smiled when I saw that she wore baseball caps and chucks. Other girls in my neighborhood didn't dress like that. Not like the other girls' energy for a 10-year-old is insane. This book isn't meant to be in the horror genre, but this is nevertheless a chilling example of foreshadowing his need for things to conform to his own desires. He sees his drunk mum. She was sick again. She got sick whenever she drank the bottled drinks. Having Jared as a son would turn anyone to drink. # blame the child. Also, he is 10. So why is he talking like he's 5 whenever she drank the bottled drinks? In the UK, as a 10-year-old, he's only 2 years away from his first illegal drink. And you can't be friends with a girl? Her voice cracked and I heard her swallow. I knew what was I going to say? Oh yeah, that's it. I was going to say, you probably not noticed because my upload schedule is very, very, very ADHD in the first place. But my life, I'm struggling at the moment. Why can I not be authentic? Why can I not be sincere? Why does everything have to be laced with irony? Depressed at the moment. Severe depression, the doctor said. Spoke to an actual doctor and everything. Don't know why, considering I know more than they do. So it's a little bit of a struggle to do my content at the moment. That's all I wanted you to know. because I think there's a joke later on that I put in about how this book is making my depression worse. So anyway, just to, God, like anyone gives a shit, just to, let you know. And you can't be friends with a girl? Her voice cracked and I heard her swallow. I knew what was coming and my stomach tightened. No, I can't. I didn't like to talk to my mum. Actually, I didn't know how to talk to her. I was alone a lot and she pissed me off. Knows a swear word but doesn't know the word for alcohol. Okay. My mum drinks alcohol a lot. Inconsistent narrative voice within the first 3 pages. Anyway, Tate tries to climb the tree between the houses, but Jared yells at her and calls her stupid, which is love at first sight, I guess. So they introduce themselves and immediately child Jared is a freak. He's an abomination of nature. Even hug her, which is what I really wanted to do right now. I saw that your dad has an old car. She didn't look at me, but she rolled her eyes. It's a Chevy Nova, not just an old car. I knew what it was. I wanted to see if she did. Again, the absolutely chilling promise that he's cold and calculating and he will cast off anyone that doesn't meet his precise demands. If she'd not known the make of car, she would have ended up being another empty vagina to him. I'm not even joking. She held out her hand for me to shake. I'm Tatum, but everyone calls me Tate. I don't like Tatum. Got it? Which explains why he insists on calling her Tatum, just to wind her up. Chapter 1, 6 years later. The butt. God. God. Oh, God. Right. Do I need to do trigger warnings for these? Penelope Douglas was in the title. That is trigger warning enough. We're going to be dealing with child abuse. But apparently when Jared's dad does it, it's bad. But when Jared does it, it's sexy. So Jared's dad is sexy. We've decided that, okay? You ready? Strap on. The blood spills over my bottom lip and onto the floor like a long strip of red paint. I let it pool in my mouth until it dribbles out since everything hurts too damn much to spit. Dad, please, I beg, my voice shaking as my body shivers from the fear. My mum was right. He's a bad man, and I wish I'd never talked her into letting me spend the summer with him. I kneel on his kitchen floor, shaking, with my hands tied behind my back. The itchy rope bites into my skin. Are you begging, you little cat? He snarls and the strap whips my back again. So we immediately get a flashback of Jared being abused by his dad, and oh my God, Jared's dad is so sexy. He's so dominant and in control and damaged. He probably listens to really deep music like Disturbed and can only show his love through violence. I bet he really loves Jared. You understand what I'm doing, yeah? No one. Give me backlash. You understand how the turntables.
Well. How the turntables.
But my father breaks through. You don't beg, you don't apologise. That's what I get for letting that woman raise you all these years. Nothing but a coward now. That's what you are. Not saying that in case demonetized, obviously, but I just know Penelope, an American, felt so edgy using that word. My father releases me and walks over to the deep freezer in the corner of the kitchen and pounds twice on the lid. You still alive in there? So his father is so crazy that he's put Jax, the younger brother, in the freezer as if he's a chalk ice lolly. Jared wakes up from the nightmare, back in bed. Now, the abuse, the comically melodramatic scene of abuse is clearly there to excuse anything Jared does from now on, short of the cartoonish notion of sexual assault accepted by people who don't understand consent. The rules for the story with this scene have been set. Anything Jared does isn't really abuse because he knows what abuse truly is. Abuse is when your dad beats the shit out of you in his murder dungeon and tries to freeze the life out of your brother. Ignoring the ache between my eyes from the... I read that as in between my legs. I've been reading too much smut. What is my life? I'm sad. I just read a lot of smut. Leave me alone. And do you know what? I'm going to go out here and publicly say this. The smut that people are writing... Like, how is it... Look, it's for research purposes, all right. But how is it people who write that stuff for free understand consent, boundaries, and, like, the actual attractive dominant man... Where, you know, they're dominant in the bedroom, but Colleen Hoover, that does not extend to when you're arguing with them, they are laying their hands on you. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why is it that these people understand that so much better than these people who are published. Huh? Just annoys me. Really annoys me. So much talent out there. Yet we... Ignoring the ache between my eyes from the alcohol the night before, I peeled the blanket back to see who I was dumb enough or drunk enough to spend the whole night in my house. Great. Another blonde. What was I thinking? What were you thinking? I don't know specifically, but I can say with 100% certainty that it was about yourself, because that's the theme of this book. But the last few days, when the nightmares had started again, all I'd wanted were blondes. It was like I had some sick pull to self-destruct over the blonde I loved to hate. Reminder, Tate did nothing wrong to Jared. Just a reminder. But I had to admit, the girl was hot. Her skin looked smooth, and she had nice boobs. I think she said something about being home for the summer from Purdue. I don't think I told her about me being 16 and still in high school. Maybe I'd spring that on her when she woke up, just for kicks. Sleeping with someone under false pretenses can be included under sexual assault. But luckily, it wasn't a man being lied to in this scenario. Just a nice boobed jizz dumpster. Jared's mum tells him that Tate is leaving. She'll be gone for a whole year. Jared, you were friends once. Yeah, up until 2 years ago. The summer before freshman year, I'd gone to visit my father and came home to realise that I was on my own. My mother was weak, my father was a monster, and Tate wasn't a friend after all. Tate did nothing wrong, but okay. Jared pretends he doesn't care and then sees Tate outside playing with Madman, the dog. Tate continued yapping to the dog. Oh, well, I love you too. She sounded like she was speaking to a child, all sweet and shit, as Madman kept nudging and licking her face. He shouldn't love her this much. What had she done for him in the past 2 years? So he gets jealous of the dog, and it's quite telling that he sees love entirely as transactional, and she should do things for him in order to receive his love, which is, of course, incredibly valuable, even if the stupid woman only just knew what a Chevy Nova was. Stupid woman. God, I love her. Kneeling down to hook Madman's leash onto his collar, I twisted my lips up slightly. You're talking again, Tatum. I didn't call her Tate. She hated Tatum. So that's what I called her. We know. She told us last chapter. You know you can trust your audience to retain information and not have things spoon-fed, right, Penelope? Or maybe you, Penelope, specifically can't trust your audience. But generally, you can. Tate is wearing a 9 Inch Nails t-shirt that Jared bought her years ago, so he decides to bother her about it. Is that what you're wearing on the plane? I asked, sneering. I should have just walked away. But hell, I couldn't stop engaging with her. It was an addiction. She turned back to me, her fingers fisting up. Why'd you ask? Just looks a little sloppy, is all. But that was a bold-faced lie. This is such a non-insult. This truly is an American idea of bullying. The black t-shirt was worn out, but it clung to her fit body like it was made just for her, and her dark jeans hugged her ass, telling me exactly what she would look like naked. So he objectifies her to show us that he really does care. So far, Jared's love for Tate has been dictated entirely by the fact that she matches his desires, that she dresses the way he likes, behaves the way he wants. Whenever she expresses any individuality at all, it threatens him. He ought to just buy a sex doll and put a pair of Converse on it. She looked like fire and sugar, and I wanted to gorge and burn at the same time. I also wish for Jared to be set on fire.
Stop, don't come back.
Rest in piss, my dude. Tatum was hot, but she didn't know it. Every hot girl knows they are hot. This entire scenario of women discovering their physical attractiveness via a manlet telling them was concocted entirely by insecure teenagers who can't meet confident women on their level. And, blonde or not, that was my type. Why? Because you like to prey on those with no self-esteem? Anyway, Tate gets so mad she does this. Before I could register what was happening, she'd peeled off her shirt and exposed her perfect chest in a sexy-ass sports bra. This didn't happen. None of this happened. Jared is living in his own sexual assault fantasy, whilst in reality he's bleeding out in a coma because his sexy dad hit him so hard in his mouth. We don't justify hitting women. I meant to say children. Same thing, according to the ancient Greeks. Where did that come from? We don't justify harming children on this channel. But when they're Jared...
Shut up, Jared.
Then, what does she do? As if I don't have my script there. She sets her t-shirt on fire while she's just there in her bra to teach Jared a lesson. Okay, so breaking Maddox's nose the other night wasn't a fluke. She was fighting back. I'd spent the past 2 years of high school making her life miserable, telling a few lies, ruining a few dates, all for my own pleasure. Challenging Tate, making her the high school outcast, made my world go round, but she never fought back. Not until now. Maybe she thought that since she was leaving town, she could throw caution to the wind. Would a few hours of talking therapy allow Jared to hear how psychotic he sounds? Or is he one of those people who thinks he's too smart and too damaged for any therapist to handle? Wow, I'm really just airing myself out. Why do I need therapy? What are they going to tell me that I don't really... Anyway, moving on. He's so scarred that he has to have the lights off missionary to forget his pain, unless he's too busy bullying a young woman, that is. This interaction somehow makes Jared realise that he's going to miss her, and her dad comes out to break it up. Fear took root in my brain as I realised that she was really leaving, and I wasn't going to be in control of her anymore. She'd live every day not thinking of me. She'd go on dates with any arsehole that showed interest, and even worse, I wouldn't see or hear of her. Why did it sound like that? She'd have a life without me in it, and I was scared. If we hadn't read anything about Jared until this point, this paragraph of his panic alone would be enough to show us how insecure he is and what a shitty person he is. He rings Maddox, the slut, for something to do. Then hit the gym and sweat out the hangover I ordered. I need a distraction. Why did I just say that? Now he would know something was wrong, and I didn't like people knowing my stuff. I would also wish to know nothing about Jared if given the chance. Looking over at the Bronco, pulling out the driveway, and the blonde driver that didn't once turn around to look back, I clenched my phone to my ear. Blondes. Lots of blondes.
So what do you need? Guns. Lots of guns.
I twisted around when I heard the purest little moan coming from the bed. The Purdue girl, I forgot her name, was waking up. That's because women are just vaginas to fill. Can you hear these children like screaming? Anyway, there are so many references to the guys forgetting the names of the girls they've banged that it reads like an awkward man who swears he sexed a girl. Like, penised her real good. In fact, he sexed like 100 girls, but that was on a holiday in Europe, which is a country. So he has sex with this girl because she reminds him of Tate. Chapter 2. Jared has been getting into fights and trouble at school because he misses Tate. Maddox wasn't like me. He was a people person. He could serve you a pile of shit and you'd ask for ketchup. Didn't he sexually assault Tate like at least twice? They skive off school to go get tattoos. Very rebellious of them. Some chick named Mary. Some chick. I'm so casual about the sentient vaginas I interact with. I assume that's what it was called. Again, I have sexed many girls. Some chick named Mary had finished fallen across Maddox's back, except the E was inked to look like flames. These two, supposedly, have to wear snorkels in school to prevent themselves drowning in cats. Yet they behave and express themselves like kids wearing button-up flame t-shirts. Are they actually having sex, or do they count masturbating in a tree outside a woman's window a sexual conquest? But I wasn't at all interested in going to college either. I didn't want to think about how things were going to change when I finished high school. Not going to college because of a boy or a girl is insane, by the way. You will regret it. Don't do it. I smiled, picturing myself 10 years from now covered in tattoos, simply because I liked the pain. Once again, proving that he doesn't have a single sane motivation in his life, or one that doesn't want to make me brush his teeth with a brick. He goes home and a care package for Tate's dad from Tate in France is there, and he gets triggered by it, and then he's mean to Maddox, but what else is new? You know, he started letting out a sigh. I've kept my mouth shut, but then keep it shut. We never see anything redeemable about Jared's personality, so are he and Maddox just friends because they're both dicks? Maddox gets mad, throwing a flashlight against the wall and yells at Jared to basically grow up. A mature point. Well made. I tightened my fist around the wrench and straightened my back, wanting to stuff his own words back down his throat. His gaze dropped to my right hand that held the tool, then back up to my face. What? He challenged. What do you think you're going to do? So, we're all just supposed to ignore the palpable homoeroticism here as they sweat, clench, and stare at the tool in his hand? I wanted to hit something. Anything. Even my best friend. Because therapy and emotional restraint are for the weak and women. His brother rings him. Hey man, I've been trying to reach you all day, my brother Jack said, a little muffled. My breathing wasn't slowing down and my brother didn't need me like this. I can't talk right now. Fine, he barked. Screw you then. And he hung up. He's not even nice to his abused little brother. There's literally no one he's nice to, and yet everyone is drawn to him. Behave. And why is it so hard to write likable characters? Like, again, so many people are writing fan fictions of a variety of things, and yet more compelling, makes more sense than this. He actually bothers to ring Jax back, and turns out Jax is in hospital. Chapter 3. Excuse me, can I help you? A nurse called behind me as I barged through the double swinging doors. I was sure I was supposed to check in with her, but she could shove her clipboard up her ass. Definitely not paid enough to deal with Jared. But then again, she probably didn't even have good tits, so why should he listen to her? He would never hit her though. He would never hit a bitch. My shoes squeaked on the linoleum as I jetted down the corridors, flinging back curtain after curtain until I found my brother. This is so intrusive and inefficient. Like, did he rip off people's oxygen masks too in order to check if they were his brother? He sat on a bed, long legs dangling off the side and his hand to his forehead. I reached for his ponytail and yanked his head back to look at his face. Ow! He grunted. I could have been gentler, I guess. Seriously, Jared, can he do anything in a likeable manner? Why not put a cigarette out on him while you're there too? After all, no one has been through what you've been through. No one has seen what you've seen.
But you have not seen what I've seen.
I have seen my share.
You have not seen what I have seen.
Oh yeah, Jax is Native American, a quarter Native American. If it matters, it doesn't really matter until he mentions it, like right at the end. Just throwing that out there. I did know that Jax didn't want to go with her, a social worker. My throat tightened and the lump inside swelled so damn much that I wanted to hurt someone. Tate. It's just abuse. Does Penelope think that it's justified because Jared is angry that his brother is being physically abused, therefore it's validated somehow? Swap out his brother being abused for, I don't know, his favourite football team losing and him being so mad he wants to hurt Tate. Don't make it okay, does it? Like, if this communist parade of red flags weren't enough, this is the moment that should highlight what a gigantic abomination this guy is. Where did the tortured fallen angel archetype go? After all, doesn't Jared tell us that he bullies Tate to keep her safe? Translation, virginal for him. Now, as seen here, he just actively wants to hurt her. Fine, I'll accept it. But he's still not as sexy as his dad. I bet that burns him up, burns him like the hellfire in which he lives. Because, after all, he's so twisted and tormented. Someone's going to get an extra minute of missionary because of this. Socks off. Jax's foster dad beat him up, but he lies to the social worker about it, and the social worker wants to move Jax to a new home. Jared gives a big internal spiel about how he can love Jax more and people need to feel safe, but he's failing to protect him.
You sly dog! You got me monologuing!
And, grabbing a wad of cash out of my pocket, I yanked my brother in for a hug and stuffed the money into his hand. Without even looking at him, I spun round and walked out of the room as fast as I could. I didn't deserve to look him in the face. I can feel the love from here. Jared and Maddock go to Donovan's, the foster dad's house. Sure, fighting was fun. Losing ourselves in girl after girl was moderately entertaining too. Right, but a girl would be a slut if she did the same, yeah? The number of people Jared has to hurt and demean because one girl once kissed another boy is insane. Because Tate's vagina is his, damn it. Did I mention that? Did I mention that anywhere? Why didn't I mention that? Does it come up later on? I'm just going to say it now, actually. So when they were younger, before Jared goes off to his dad's for that fateful summer, as it were, he wants to tell Tate how he feels about her. But he's like, oh, can we meet at this place tonight? Okay, just got attacked by a bottle. He's like, can we meet at the pond tonight? And she goes, oh no, we can't, because I'm going on a date. And he's like, what? He's never told her how he felt, but he's like, what? He doesn't even say any of that. He just goes, oh, okay, have fun. And then later on, he spies at her through his window and he sees that like she kisses this boy that she's goes on a date with when she's 14. So when Jared talks about like, oh, Tate and the trust and all that, that's what he's talking about. That a 14-year-old kissed another boy once because this boy didn't have the guts to tell him he liked her. Maybe it does come up. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, Jared calls the police on himself and then confronts Donovan. Chapter 4. Post-fight, police station and bail, Tate's dad picks Jared up. Jared's mum has gone to rehab. I was never one to feel too sorry for poor kids or people in rough situations. If that was all they'd ever known, then it wasn't suffering the way someone else would look at it. It was their life. It was hell for them, of course, but it was familiar. What faux wisdom is that?
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
I never did sum up basic empathy. I'm Jared. Nobody has suffered like I've suffered. Your mum packed you a change of clothes. Go to Tate's room, shower up, and I'll get you something to eat. I halted. Tate's room? Absolutely not. I'm not sleeping in her room. I scowled, my heart beating so hard and fast I couldn't catch my breath. I'll crash on the couch or something. He paused before unlocking the front door and twisted his head around to fix me with an extreme don't mess with me expression. Tate's dad sucks for doing all of this for his child's enemy. If I had a kid and someone made their life miserable, I would have let them rot in that jail. I wouldn't be helping them out with their bail. I will say though, I am flabbergasted but infinitely relieved that Jared didn't immediately try to inhale the entirety of her underwear drawer whilst burning himself with a lighter. So there is that. I was going to step foot in Tate's room for the first time in over 2 years. So what? I could handle it. And man, would I hear her piss and moan all the way from France if she knew I was in there. I actually smiled with the thought, and my blood rushed hot like I downed 24 pixie sticks. Wait, that's so hardcore of him. Not drugs, not narcotics, God no. Pixie sticks. I closed my eyes, reveling in that warm feeling I'd missed so much. There are people who wear other people's faces as masks, who have saner thoughts than this failed abortion. One thing I'd always appreciated about this girl was her abhorrence for the colour pink, unless it was paired with black. It's a good thing that she's not like the other girls, copyright, because he doesn't have the emotional security to comprehend a person who likes a colour that he doesn't like. He is somehow a sexual god in this town. So he snoops around her room and has memories of them. I don't understand how you can listen to this alternative crap, Tate. He doesn't even like alternative rock music. What does she see in him? What felt friendly and easy before is different now? Oh, I think this is the part. Right, I was preemptive. What felt friendly and easy before is different now. Every damn time I see her lately, all I want to do is grab her and kiss her. I feel like there is something wrong with me. My blood runs hot whenever she wears the short little jean shorts like she's wearing right now. Even her baggy black 9-inch nails t-shirt is turning me on. Even a little sway of her hips or crunching up her nose makes my pants tighter. What the hell? We're only 14. I shouldn't be having these ideas, but damn it, I can't stop it. Tell us more, Penelope. Tell us more about what you imagined regarding the sexual urges of this 14-year-old boy and how his body reacts. No, there's nobody else here with us. It's just you and me. The FBI have no idea we're having this chat, but I'll wait because there is no other choice. For the rest of my life, I won't want anyone else. Goes on to shag dozens of women, supposedly. If only Tate didn't have autonomy, none of that would have happened. He asks her to go to the pond later so he can tell her he loves her, but she says she has a film date with some dude. Tate gives Jared a chance to say if he doesn't want her to go on the date, and Jared wimps out. That night I saw Will kiss her, and the next day my dad called and asked if I wanted to come visit him for the summer. I'd said yes. So it's Tate's fault Jared's father abuses him. Got it. This is absolutely the moment that Tate hurt Jared, which makes him a monster who takes out his frustration on someone else who is entirely innocent, like a cartoon villain with shit tattoos. Chapter 5. He talks to Tate's dad the next day. Jared, your mum will be gone for at least 4 weeks. You're going to stay here while she's away. I'll be fine at my house. It was worth a try. You're 16 years old. That's illegal. 17, I corrected. What? I'm 17 today. It was October 2nd. I hadn't realised until they'd dated the paperwork this morning at the jail. Nobody who thinks about himself as much as Jared does could possibly forget his own birthday. It's actually a miracle he didn't sexually threaten some blonde vagina-having woman because she didn't intuit enough to understand it was his special day. She should have made him a cake in the shape of him fighting the demons he imagines attack Tate while she's doing something better than being around him. Vanilla flavoured cake, of course, his favourite. That information didn't give James any pause though. Funny how James is more concerned with Jared being home alone at 17 than he is with Tate at 17 a year later. James also comes to an agreement with the judge that Jared will go to counselling for beating up that foster bloke. Jared, you're going to have to start taking responsibility for yourself. You did wrong and the world doesn't owe you anything. I'm not going to wipe your nose just because you come from a broken home and you think that gives you a license to behave badly. I call it the mess up, own up and get up policy. Make a mistake, admit it and move on. We all screw up, but a man solves his problems. He doesn't make them worse. He says all this and then tells Jared to go to military college because Jared can't be admitted to therapy because after one conversation with a professional, he'll be darted by more tranquilizers than Ace Ventura. The best thing I can do for you is push you in a direction that keeps you busy. You're going to clean up your grades, attend every class, get a job, and, he hesitated, go visit your father once a week. What? Where the hell did that come from? Well, I told Judge Kieser that you wouldn't go for the counselling, so this was your only other option. You required 1 visit a week for a solid year. Bit weird though, isn't it? So Jared gets angry and storms off. God, I missed her. The reality disgusted me, but it was true. When I hated Tate, my world got small. I didn't see all the other stuff. My mum, my dad, or my brother in foster care. If I only just had her here again, I wouldn't be such a jumble of breathing fits and outbursts. It was stupid as hell, I know. Like she should be around just for me to push whichever way I wanted. Interesting. You know, though, if someone's being abusive, it's kind of better that they aren't aware of how messed up they're being. Jared is self-aware, completely self-aware of what he does to date, and I think that makes it so much worse. And also, again, he misses her for the most selfish motives imaginable. He gets to ignore his own pain whilst causing it in another. There are more benevolent orcs. Let them think I played their game. My brother was the most important thing. Mr. Brandt was right. I wasn't any good to him in jail, but I wasn't going to any counsellor. I exhaled and sat up. Scumbag father it was then. What do all of these books and authors have against therapy? Is it because their characters would then actually have to do some hard work on themselves? You won't tell Tate about any of this, right? I checked. Getting arrested, my family, me staying here. He looked at me like I just told him that broccoli was purple. What is that broccoli line? Why is that in character for him? Like, why is that something Jared would say? Because you know, purple broccoli exists. Yeah? So either way, it's dumb. If he means broccoli is really green, then he's wrong because purple broccoli exists. If he means all broccoli is purple, then it's still stupid because why use that as a reference for someone who's meant to be this cool and this edgy? He looked at me as if I just told broccoli is purple. Why would I do that? Tate's dad hates her. Just throwing that out there. If one of my childhood friends suddenly decided to make my life so miserable that I had to escape the country for a year, my dad wouldn't be getting them out of trouble or giving them a place to stay. He would put them in hospital before any of that. Giving them a place to stay, I suppose. Chapter 6. Jared goes to visit his father. I eyed the neo-Nazi looking corrections officer like he could take his orders and shove them up his ass. He was bold, white like he'd never seen the sun, and as fat as a dozen Krispy Kremes a day will do to you. That is a bit rude. Does it make anyone else laugh how modern neo-Nazis are usually stupid, gross, unemployed, uneducated, out of shape? Kind of the opposite of what Hitler had envisioned as his master race. Watch Louis Theroux's weird weekends where he hangs out with these Nazis in America to see exactly what I'm on about. Tipping my chin up, I walked calmly through the doors. The name's Jared, I corrected him in an even voice. Not kid. You referenced getting high off of pixie sticks and you don't like the colour purple. Shut up, kid. He meets his dad. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the one thing I knew I would need. Tate's fossil necklace. It was technically her mother's, but I'd taken it when she left it on her grave one day. At first, I told myself that I was keeping it safe, making sure it survived. Then it turned into another piece of her that I could claim. He is so obsessed with Tate and obsessed over having power over her and claiming her. And where do we hear that generally? Oh yeah, from sex offenders. But then, if you look at it the other way, Tate is clearly too much of a woman to have thought anything could have happened to the necklace. So Jared, using his muscular man brain, which also has abs and smells of whiskey, made the unilateral decision to steal from her mum's grave for his own personal benefit, keeping the necklace like a security blanket. Not to mention the disrespect he pays this dead woman's memory every time he bullies her daughter. His dad goads him for a bit. Was I greedy? No, I didn't think so. Did I pick battles for weaker opponents? It took me a minute to consider, but yes, I did. But that was only because everyone was weaker than me. Everyone. He is literally 17. Calm down, Penelope. What is this rhetoric I see before mine eyes? Is Jared now some sort of anime character possessing the soul of a resurrected god? No, he's just a petulant 17-year-old boy. Get in the sea. How long you in for? 6 more years, I asked. What does it feel like to know you have grey hair before you get laid again? Have you never heard of being gay for stay? The dad notices Tate's necklace and then insinuates that he will either date or assault her. And then he says to Jared that I don't want you anyway. This is the part where we're supposed to go, oh, poor Jared. It's so justified that he abuses Tate because boys are allowed to be mean to girls if they have pain or trauma. Girls are allowed to be collateral damage. To be honest, though, I think we can ignore anything problematic that Jared's sexy dad says because he's just tormented and also hot and so dominant. If he wants to shag a minor, I guess it's fine. Jared goes home and Tate's dad gives him a birthday present, a previously restored car that is now destroyed. No, you can't have it. You can fix it. Gee, thanks. I figured you might need a little automotive therapy after today, so I decided to bring out the sledgehammer and invent a project for you. Were all of the adults in my life on fucking crack? Can't believe that I agree with Jared, but what hope do these kids have if all these adults are weird? This core plot point is also ripped straight from the Jackie Chan Karate Kid movie. James figures it will keep Jared busy for a few months, and then a whole year passes like this. I stayed in Tate's room, I slept on the floor, my mum got sober, then she got a boyfriend, I got another tattoo, Maddox got a piercing somewhere, I went to class, my grades improved. James and I took a tour of West Point. It wasn't for me. My father continued messing with my head. Sometimes I walked out. Sometimes I didn't. Sometimes we played cards so I wouldn't have to hear that person speak. The dreams kept me awake at night, but the pills helped. I bought a Boss 302. It kept me occupied. I messed around with some girls. No blondes. Mardoc and I started racing at the loop. Something else to keep me busy. Jack's got a decent home. I saw him every Sunday. I had parties at my house. More noise. Mr. Brandt was sent to Germany for work. Tate wasn't coming home. They got rid of the Heartland Scramble at Denny's. Fine. Whatever. Everything rolled off of me because none of it mattered. This is lazy and rushed because Penelope really needs Tate to come back. And yet, this is also the pace that the novel needs because more of this and we would be done within a few seconds and we could put this affront to language and evolution behind us like a particularly pervy ancestor. Tate returns, chapter 7. Jared's at a party with Piper. Don't go, Maddox spoke up from behind me. Come over to my house, we're taking the party there. He laid on a picnic blanket on the rocky beach, cuddled up some girl whose name he probably didn't know, whilst Love, Hate, Sex, Pain by Godsmack played. Oh baby, Maddox groaned to the girl next to him. Snickers ain't the only thing king-sized. Somehow this line works because this unknown girl has the IQ of a rock. You're not taking me home right away, are you? My current toy, Piper, trudged out of the lake. Getting concerned for Penelope's well-being now. What happened to them that they think anyone who speaks like this ending up with anyone even approaches romantic? If we didn't already know Tate loves being treated like trash, then this whole book, I refuse to call it a novel, reads like a tragi horror as she ends up in the Lynx body spray smelling arms of a monster. Yeah, I'm a dick. She wasn't a toy. I know, none of them were. But my car had more of a relationship with me than they did, so that made them the passing amusement. Again, being self-aware just makes it worse, not better. Stick to a lane. He's either an ignorant misogynist or he's an aware misogynist, and one is slightly better than the other. And remember, this is all because Tate kissed a boy after giving him the chance to speak up. There are actual criminals more sympathetic than this popped cyst, masquerading as a man. Piper was going to be a senior like us, and I'd seen her around school for years, but she never caught my interest. She was clingy and way too obvious. She knew she was beautiful. She thought it mattered. So it's okay for Jared to be self-aware about his gross behaviour, but it's not okay for Piper to be aware of her own beauty. And remember, Tate's beauty is important because she doesn't know she has it, so he can give it to her as if it didn't exist without him. That's how insecure he is. He also knows how important his own beauty is, so he's just compounding his hypocrisy whenever he opens his mouth. He admits he's only playing with her because her dad is the cop who arrested him. What do you think? I asked, not really asking. She had an amazing body, and I loved that she was pretty much into anything. I guarantee anything is missionary that lasts 5 minutes, and also her beauty is stupid and doesn't matter, yet it's still important that she has an amazing body. Behave. Maddox starts going on about how Tate broke his nose and that he misses her. Bummer, dude. She's probably thrilled, he added. She hated us. A twinge of amusement crept to my chest. Yeah, she sure did. Still struggling to hold on to the thread of why he's doing any of this to her. It's psychotic. I loved hating her and I wanted her home. He literally chose victimizing a young woman over going to therapy. It was a conscious choice he made. He isn't an anti-hero. He's a cartoon villain who needs to die of severe and repeated testicular trauma. The roads were slick as hell. It hadn't rained much this summer, and all the oil build-up on the street had me constantly fishtailing. But it's not like I had the sense to slow down, either. He was probably too distracted from the road by not thinking about his own birthday. At home, he sees Tate. She wore some little pyjama bottoms and a white tank top. Not really so different from what I'd noticed she wore to bed a year ago, but for some reason the sight of her was like a raging fire from my chest. I wanted to rip through the tree and peel all the clothes off of her and love her like the past 3 years had never happened. And by love, he means a rhythmically thrust at her for nearly the duration of a Godsmack song. Go on, go pick a fight, I told myself, but I shook my head. No, just leave her alone. She hasn't been thinking about me, and I needed to get over it. It's literally If Boys Pull Your Pigtails, They Like You, the novel. Girls love it when you give them PTSD. Pigtail sex demands. My phone buzzed with a text and I walked over to check it. It was from Tate's dad. Change of plans. Tate's home. On her own till Christmas. Give her back the house key and be nice. Or else. My daughter's home or whatever. Don't you be mean to her or... Okay. Well, don't you bully her. Okay. Well, don't humiliate her in front of a crowd while naked. Okay. Well, don't force yourself on her. Okay. Well, there was really no more I could have done. Let me buy you a new car to fix, you incorrigible little scamp, you. I don't think I even breathed. She was alone until Christmas. I closed my eyes and let out a laugh, and all of a sudden I was as thrilled to hell to wake up tomorrow. Serial killer arc unlocked, chapter 8. Jared trims the tree between his and Tate's house and overhears Tate talking with Casey about him. Contrived. I slid down another branch, starting to feel like a perv for snooping on their conversation, but hey, they were talking about me, and that made it my business. That is not how it works, you jackass. You make me miss Edward Cullen. And my fists clenched. Casey didn't need to know my shit. Tate had no right airing our business like that. She's talking to her friend in private, you waste of organs. I wonder if realising how bad it feels to have your feelings and privacy completely disregarded will finally bring about a change in... forget it. The towel scene hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping Jared has forgotten all about me. And I'd almost thrown my future away in my need for her. I'm done giving them my attention. She hated me. She'd hate me forever, and I was a stupid idiot for wanting her when we were 14. No one wants us. I knew I didn't want you. My father's voice crept into my head. Tate hates him because of his behaviour towards her, and he is now absolving himself of responsibility completely here by somehow making it her fault. Like, he hears she hates him and he's angry because he liked her previously and not because he realises his behaviour has caused all of this. The logic is so convoluted, it could have shagged and given birth to itself. Party tonight? Mum's leaving around 4. My mother escaped every Friday night to her boyfriend's in Chicago. I still hadn't met the guy, but she almost always stayed the entire weekend. Hell yeah, he texted not a minute later. Drinks? I asked. Maddox's dad had a liquor store, or close to, in his basement along with the wine cellar. The guy was hardly ever home, so we took what he wanted and I supplied the food. What food could this emotionally bankrupt Adonis possibly supply? My bet is party rings with skulls drawn on in icing. Also, Tate's father, Jared's mother, and Maddox's dad aren't around. Are the parents in this book okay? He goes to visit his father to tell him to stop calling Jax, but his dad says no, so he leaves. It's boring, but his dad is really hot, and I wish he was in more of the novel. Chapter 9. Oh, Jared. Piper gasped my name as I devoured her neck, gripping her hair and pulling her head back. I tried to get lost in her perfume and her body. I told you not to talk, I whispered softly against her skin. Do as you're told. Guaranteed, Jared has the sexual technique of a guy with his hands superglued into oven mitts. Jared has his party and gets told Tate is there. I climbed off the bed. Just get dressed, Piper, I bit out. What? She screamed. I looked over at her. Her lips and nose were scrunched up and her chest rose and fell with her hard breathing. Piper was no attachment and no complications. I appreciate that about her. But she was pissed and I didn't stop to explain. I never did. She knew better. I never let on that I wanted more than a casual thing and she'd either roll with it or she could leave. Earlier, he said that she was clingy, but now she's casual. Okay, characters and stories don't have to make sense, I suppose. Sorry, man, he held up his hands. Maddox got his hands all over her. I thought I should get you. Idiot. I barreled past Sam and down the hallway, ready to stick my best friend's head in the toilet to wake him up. I was pretty sure he had a thing for Tate, but he was told years ago that she was off limits. Oh yeah, we just skipped past how Maddox was groping her. Well, Maddox the slut never groped me, so I guess he wouldn't do that. Jared, if he ever stopped to think about anyone else but himself, but he won't. So he didn't. Can you tell I'm really tired now because it's so hot? Literally like a nosy neighbour. Her hair was lighter and her skin was darker, probably from being in the sun this summer. Probably from being in the sun. That, or she pulled a mid-career Ariana Grande. Seriously, he has to speculate on how she got tanned. How has he got grades for anything at school? Her body had gotten more toned, more grown up. The shape to the back of her thighs had my mouth going dry. Her nose was still little, her skin still flawless, and her full lips all made her look like the perfect doll. And I never played with dolls, but I damn sure wanted to play with this one. Anyway, let's just ogle the love of his life and also slip in some unconscious commentary about how insecure he is on his masculinity with that doll comment. He's thrilled his soulmate has returned because she looks more shaggable than before. Hooray! That slut better not have kissed anyone though. Right at that moment, I wanted everything from Tate. Everything. Her anger and passion, her hate and lust, her body and soul. I wanted control of all of it. I've never seen so many demands from someone less deserving. I'm the one that haunts you, not the other way round. My father invaded my head again. He and Tate were always in there, but neither of them wanted me, and both of them owned me. But one of them, I could control. Again, if she just worn pink sandals or listened to Alanis Morissette, she would have been spared all of his attention because not a single thing about her matters to him except that her flesh is untouched and her eggs are in date. Well. Tate had a low opinion of me. Go figure. This is like the journal of a madman. Go figure. Piper walked over and kissed me on the cheek, saying goodbye, reminding me she was here. I have no clue. But she always did little things like that at unexpected times that made me uncomfortable, like she wanted more, and I was obligated to give it to her. Oh no, don't you dare turn it around on her. You're the one using her as a voiceless sex doll. Not even nanotech can create a violin small enough to match my feelings of sympathy for him. After Piper took the hint and left, Tate spoke up. I have to be up in about 5 hours for an appointment in Weston. I'm asking politely that you please turn down the music. Was she serious? No. Jared, I came here being neighbourly. It's after midnight. I'm asking nicely. The begging was cute. Was she serious about what? Has he ever considered anything that doesn't directly relate to him or his problems? She looked around the room. Where is your mother, by the way? Haven't seen her since I've been back. Oh, Tate, don't go there. Don't act like you know me or my family. It must be quite alarming for him. A walking vagina asking personal questions like that. How dare it? The control was back and my jaw twitched with a smile. I felt calm and very sure about who I was. It was strength, confidence, and trust rushing over me. I'm not sure confidence is the same as having an unbridled sense of entitlement, mate. You are such a dick, she whispered. I stopped and glared, pretending to be angry. I also wouldn't advise pretending to be angry in order to threaten young women, but that's just me, and nobody can defeat you. Nobody. Alexa, play I Stand Alone by Godsmack. The images of how she could entertain me rushed through my head, but Tate would never. She was a good girl, brushed and flossed, ironed her clothes, and she didn't do bad things in bed with bad boys. Once again, not a single personality trait of hers makes the cut. It's literally all of his sexual frustration bubbling, presumably very stickily, to the surface. She irons her clothes too. She might as well be a Mormon. That bitch. Does she think she's better than me? Also, he hasn't so much as spanked one of his dolls, so how bad is anything he gets up to? My guess is he looks them dead in the eye whilst reciting Godsmack lyrics before achieving a faltering, weepy orgasm. Coming to stand in front of her, I felt heat and a familiar sweet ache in my pants. Yeah, my body was attracted to hers. So what? Why are you telling me off? I was attracted to most things that wore skirts. Oh, how special Tate is them. Or pyjama shorts with black hoodies and chucks. My emotions ran wild with Tate, but I knew I couldn't sleep with her. It would be a cold day in hell before I gave her that kind of power over me. But that didn't mean I couldn't enjoy the view either. It's a good thing Penelope didn't actually invest Tate with a real personality within the story, because it would have been absolutely wasted on Captain Creeper here. Take this off. I grabbed the hem of her little black sweatshirt and give me a lap dance. Her eyes widened. Excuse me? I noticed the more nervous, not so confident break to her voice, and it was like music to my ears. He's getting excited by sexually harassing her, you know, like a sex offender would. I remember when he was crying about Piper, like a few paragraphs ago, kissing him and making him feel uncomfortable. But lo and behold, here he is committing actual sexual harassment and enjoying the feeling of fear he creates. Tate yells and breaks up the party. Should be me yelling. Blood pumped through my veins like hot sugar. The pain almost unbearable, but so mouthwatering I craved more. What is it with this guy and sugar? That's like the third time he's mentioned it now. Is he actually 12? She leaves with that pathetic line that I shan't repeat, and Maddox appears. I turned around to face him. You touched her? My tone threatened. Sorry, man. Sorry, man. Okay, woman. He looked at me like he hadn't been told 10 times already to keep her hands off of her. Whatever. I forgot. Won't happen again. He shrugged his shoulders and walked back into the kitchen. Yeah, better not. I didn't know if he was really coming on to Tate. Sam said he was touching her. But Maddox was a good friend who knew the boundaries. What? Jared's boundaries? Not Tate's? Very flippant, isn't he, about Maddox trying to molest Tate, but I suppose predators stick together. And anyway, after all of the sexual harassment and arguable assault, I've once again forgotten why he doesn't want other people ruining this girl's life, or what ties her to him. It's like other people aren't allowed to mess with her, only he is. I glanced once more to the front door, remembering how Tate just walked out with her head held high, her voice steady and more confidence than I'd ever seen in her. Game on. My shoulders relaxed and I climbed the stairs and went to bed, this time without a sleeping pill and without any thoughts of my father. Yeah, somehow Tate defying him is healing his trauma from his father. I've no clue what to make of that either. Let's see, just a guess. His rage boner has managed to distract him from the sexiness of his father. That's the interpretation I'm going with. Chapter 10. So, Maddox spoke up. Tate's got a little fan club already. I'm assuming you heard the talk. I had. As much as I hated the few things I'd heard other guys saying about her, they weren't necessarily bad things. No one had mentioned her tits or ass, so I wouldn't have to pound them into the pavement. No, they just talked about how beautiful she looked, about how sure she carried herself now. Confidence she gained abroad, I was sure. I loved the attention she was getting. After all, the higher she rose, the harder she'd fall. His hero narrative for himself is absolutely top-notch. He can sexually threaten a woman by demanding she remove her clothes and actually lay hands on them, but can disassociate enough to think he would be gallant for physically assaulting someone for casual verbal objectification. This guy listens to nu metal and imagines himself defeating hordes of ninjas who have attacked the school whilst everyone claps. Tate, he said, as if I should have known. Are we or are we not leaving her alone this year? Tate is all they both talk about. They are both obsessed. And yet, name one special trait of hers that makes her so unique. One. I'll wait. Tate appears. Her body moves slowly, almost methodically. There was something about her, how rigid her back looked. She wasn't relaxed. I hoped it was me. I hope she felt me in here, watching her. The level of power and control this dork needs has convinced me he would melt into a pool that smelled of piss and his father's disappointment if you showed his class an even mildly embarrassing photo of him. He's an absolute predator, but entirely pathetic at the same time. Maddox started laughing, almost choking as he tried to swallow his food. You're right, he coughed out, his eyes watering. Anyone who sees the way you look at her knows you don't want to hook up with her. He shook his head. No, right now you're looking at her like you want to tie her up and give her a big, fat spanking. Seeing how at the end he's mind blown just by doing cowgirl, don't think he's quite ready for spanking. I wasn't into shit like that, or I didn't think I was. Never tried it. I told you his sex life was vanilla. And once again, we're running up against the wall of cognitive dissonance. Jared can't ever physically strike a woman because that's abuse, even if they ask him to during sex, because the author doesn't... Because the author doesn't have any clue as to what they're doing or trying to achieve, or the kind of monster they've birthed by allowing him psychological and sexual torment to be wielded as weapons. This is like the censorship of cartoons back in the 80s when the Justice League couldn't punch anyone to solve crimes, if the Justice League was formed entirely of insecure sex offenders. I watched fuming as Maddox approached Tate and leaned into her ear speaking. I couldn't hear what she was saying, of course, but I saw Tate's back straighten and knew she was uncomfortable. Good. This will teach her for doing that thing that she did, or that I imagined she did, or whatever. What was it? Something about Europe? Then he's all, I hate it when other people bully her. Only I should bully her. Helping me taunt her at times was one thing, but talking shit about her body and in public got my temper up. What a hero. Even I didn't do that. If she hadn't punched him, then I would have. What a hero Jared is, because he doesn't say mean things about her perfect body. His hand glided down her back and I balled my hand into a fist. God damn it. Didn't we just have this talk? Air poured in and out of my nose as I watched, unblinking. It's kind of how breathing works, dude. His hand fall intimately over her body and descend to her ass. It's crazy that he's friends with someone who thinks, oh, I know, I'll grope Tate to get Jared mad so he hooks up with her. Only true bros will help you via tactical sexual assault, I guess. Tate knees Maddox in the balls. I hear the girls talk, she continued, and contrary to popular belief, good things do not come in small packages. Ugh. Ugh. Her voice was strong, like she was completely comfortable in her skin. Everyone caught the joke as she crooked her pinky finger to the amused crowd, insinuating that Maddox had a small dick. Why are you explaining dick jokes to me? It is the most well-known form of comedy. You think I'm an idiot, don't you? I leaned back again, remembering how she'd cry or just leave every time Maddox or I did something. Now it was 10-year-old Tate again. Rocking my world. That is a strange thing to say. And Jared has this mental stability of a feral cat on Mandy. She stopped at the double doors and I narrowed my eyes on her as she turned around, looking straight at me. Her eyes zoned in, killing the distance between us and bringing me dead in her face so I could smell her skin. Must be a sex offender superpower, I don't know. She was everything. She knew my game. She matched me, and she was going to be a joy to take down. And then, and only then, would I have proven that I didn't need her or anyone else. If his motivation for all of this was to prove he didn't actually need her, he could have acquired a hobby or any other distraction that meant he no longer spoke to her. He really just added in a bunch of extra steps, and almost all of those entailed sexual assault. Anyway, Jared punches Maddox for touching his property, whatever. He also gets the afternoon off work. I don't even know what work he does, because the job was noise and distraction, which he doesn't need now that Tate is back. Wait till you find that you can't pay rent via bullying. Come to think of it, I assume his job is to work in a warehouse beheading fish with a cleaver. Chapter 11. Jared hangs around the ladies' locker room to go harass Tate. The ladies might still be cleaning up, but they should be done with their showers at least. Not that they had anything I hadn't seen before, some of them close up, but there was a fine line between a prank and getting myself arrested. It's quite telling that sexual harassment is being reframed as a prank, isn't it? And what has him having seen some of them naked before have to do with him not purposefully invading their space whilst they're vulnerable? See it all before, officer. That's not the charge. Look, I'm 17. There's no one I can't take down. No one. Jared is tased and collapses in a pool of his own urine. Everybody cheers. So Jared storms into the changing room. One girl jerked her shirt up to cover her bra, but then lowered it again when she registered who I was. Her lips twisted up as she scanned me up and down. I did a double take since she looked like she knew me. Like knew me. But I couldn't remember at that point. The past year had been a jumble, and I'd rarely gone back for seconds with anybody. I could have tapped that. She was hot. I probably would have. But I wouldn't be able to say if it was a month or a year ago. He sleeps with girls in his school. How many tens of thousands of students could there possibly be for him not to recall the face of one from the last year? Maybe it's brain damage. Maybe it's Maybelline. Tate was at her locker, naked except for a towel. For a second, I thought I couldn't have planned the timing better, and I remembered that it couldn't have been worse timing. My penis was like a goddamn compass, pointing straight to her. I suggest chemical castration. Everyone scurried away, and I was grateful that they cleared out without drama. Maybe they went outside or a few rows over to give us some privacy, but all I cared about was that they were gone, and Tate didn't have a lifeline. She was isolated. This is so creepy that it is mentally unwell that they end up together. Say what you have to say. I'm naked here and I'm about to scream. This is going too far, even for you. Never too far. There was no limit to how high I could fly, like Icarus, flying close to the sun, from feeding off of her. Well, unless it involves talking about her body in public, because then the fallen angel crumbles. Jared recognizes that Tate wants him, so I guess it's all okay. Roaming her body with my eyes, I took in the caramel tone of her tan skin and couldn't help but wonder, Carrie Bradshaw, what it would look like covered with sweat. The curve of her neck as it met her shoulder, the water droplets in the dip of her collarbone, her full tits nearly bursting out the towel. Everything got me going. It sure is something when fully grown adults write this kind of stuff about teenagers in high school. Hey Penelope, Chris Hansen wants you to tell him more about this miner's full bosom. He wants you to meet him at this park and tell him. What are you, big bad Jared, feeling threatened? What? Now, that pissed me off. I bounded off the lockers and caged her between my arms. Don't touch me, she blurted out, and I bit back a grin. She wasn't looking at me again. I moved my head like a snake trying to catch her. Oh, God. It's just juvenile, isn't it? I don't know. I'm becoming really aware that I'm alive and choosing to spend my time doing this. I hate this writing. I hate it. That's like what you'd give a class of 8-year-olds to come up with similes. That's that caliber. Anyone who dares say, well, at least it's good writing. Look me in the eyes when you say that. Wet strands of her hair stuck to her face and I inhaled her slowly like she was a piece of meat. Like she was a piece of meat. And I was starving. If I ever laid my hands on you, I fretted in a low voice, you'll want it. When I read this, I do admit I was laughing at how terrible it was. How that there are actual convicted serial predators who are more romantic than him and they all have a better taste in music. They get interrupted by the coach and the rest of the team. And the coach is furious. If anyone is going to molest an underage student in the showers, it's going to be them. But my amusement was short-lived when I saw girls snapping pictures with their cell phones. My stomach hollowed out immediately. No. God damn it. Tate was mine to do with what I wanted. And I did... Got a second wind there. And I did not want pictures of her in a towel texted to the whole goddamn school. I guess this makes him a hero or something. He laments the consequences of his own actions. Not because they're bad for Tate, but because he's losing control. Christian Grey is more relaxed than this arsehole. Chapter 12. Days later, I was experiencing more ups and downs of the damn roller coaster. Tate completely aware of my presence and cringing every time she saw me. Going up. Douchebags trying to fist bump me for screwing her like she was some skanky slut that would throw down anywhere. Going down. I think Jared might actually be unwell because he seems to forget that he's the one who started a rumour that Tate gave her virginity to the, odorous kid. Is that a word? To have odour? The BO kid in school. And now he's furious people have paid attention to what he's said. He's like Tyler Durden and the narrator of Fight Club put together if both of them had the personality and charm of the toilet from Trainspotting. Guys wanted her so badly that no amount of shit I spewed about her eating boogers, having lice, or even dissecting human cadavers in her home would dispel. Huh? Once again, his intellect and mentality is displayed with utterly unwarranted confidence. He's a 17-year-old fallen angel who is so damaged and dark, none could even conceive the depths of his twisted torment. Guy sees a drink of chocolate milk and goes, to my dark, twisted mind, that's just a regular glass of milk. Twisted Torment is probably the name of the band he would start if he was interesting enough to start a band like all the other essay artists. And yet his brilliant scheme is to say that she eats boogers.
Shut up, Jared!
Brilliant. Jared then gets annoyed about the picture of Tate online. Tony, baby, come with me. I hooked Tony Vincent, cheer captain, by the elbow and led her outside the double doors of the gym. Oh, look who's talking to me after weeks and weeks. Her sarcastic tone was playful, but annoyed. She and I had hooked up a couple times last year, and while she was confident and fun, I wasn't in it for a relationship. She tried to push that shit. Is there anyone in the school Jared hasn't banged? But women are the whores, am I right? We're still trying to push the narrative that Jared is a wild stallion, too fierce and free to be held down by any but his true love, when in fact he's infinitely more similar to a stable hand who got kicked in the head by said horse. Anyway, she takes the picture down. Later that day, I made my way to my final class, themes in film and literature. I'd sign up for any courses I could take from Penley this semester. She was sweet, and I felt worse about my behaviour towards her than any other teacher last year. It was the teachers who went the extra mile with me that got my respect. For an incredibly less than average bloke, he's very cocky about who supposedly deserves his respect. I'm surprised he hasn't slept with the teacher, or at the very least, she wanted to sleep with him. He eavesdrops on Tate speaking to Ben. Ben might try to ask her out. Maybe he was gauging whether or not she was interested in someone else. I remember he was interested in her freshman year, but he was put down pretty easily. Once he heard about the Stevie Stoddard rumour, the one I started about Tate losing her virginity to the grimiest kid in school, he didn't mention her again. He was weak, and he was a follower. But girls loved him. Why? I have no idea. He seemed about as boring as a church movie night. He was nice though, the guy you brought home to mum. Isn't Ben the tall, handsome athlete who doesn't commit sexual assault? Yeah, I don't know why girls would like him. He doesn't even brood over new metal while getting an infection from his shit tattoos. Okay, lesson on Tate with music. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to me? Is Jared talking to me? If fans do anything less than carve the band's name into their skin, then the band isn't worth listening to. Agree. I want My Chemical Romance tattooed on my forehead so I can be a walking advertisement for them because it's what they deserve. Hey Jameson, I interrupted. Very much done listening to Tate trying to get into this guy's pants. Says the guy shagging half the school. Tate loved Bruce Willis. She liked action movies and thrillers, and I wanted her to remember that I knew shit about her. It's really not that impressive. My mind fogged over, and I heard the noise of Penley's voice, but not the words. My eyes were trained on Tate's back, and before I knew it, I was lost. She had grabbed all of her hair and swept it up into a long ponytail, the wavy length cascading down her back like a waterfall, or a leash. I clenched my fists. He was so embarrassed by his lame sex life earlier that now he's trying to get us to believe he knows how to incorporate a leash into the bedroom. He's one lie away from telling us girls love it when you pop a ball in.
And do you put the balls in?
What?
I couldn't see my dick, but I swear it swelled up to twice the size it normally did when I was horny. Like a horny Grinch.
I'm an idiot!
Her army green 5-finger death punch t-shirt wasn't too tight, but it draped slimly over her slender back and complemented her sun-kissed skin. I was nearly bleeding to kiss the patch of skin on her shoulder at the curve of her neck where the collar rubbed. That would be a good place for a little tattoo, I thought. The hair, the outfit, it was the perfect blend of good girl and bad girl, of salvation and danger. Salvation and danger. A high school girl. Why is bro so dramatic? Everyone knows that drama is just for women. Please don't taint this otherwise bland girl with your tasteless brand of self-pitying, angsty bullshit. She doesn't need a pair of flaming wings on her neck because you won't go to therapy. There was no point in lying to myself. As much as I hated her, I wanted a taste of her. Angry sex is pretty good, from what I hear. Bro has never even had angry sex, and yet he's talking about leashes and spanking. I told you. Vanilla as ice cream. He's so horny he can't even stand up to do the class task, and then Tate gets put as his north. Remember when they do the compass thing? I swear that never actually ever goes anywhere. Ever. Totally pointless. Chapter 13. Oh look, it's the dog. And madman. Casey reminded me of that blonde chick on the Vampire Diaries that runs around acting like every problem in the entire universe has something to do with her. Like you. The point is that some people think they have a leading role when really they're just supporting cast. Look, Casey is a piece of shit, but Jared doesn't know that, so this is just very rude. Casey, I leaned back on my elbows and shot her a lazy and confident grin. You know what's worse than seeing just how mean I can be? She sighed and jutted her hip out like I was wasting her time. What? Seeing how nice I can be. My voice floated like silk across the lawn and straight between her legs. Can we consider the last line assault? I'm considering the last line assault. It's assaulting me.
Nope. Stop talking, go to jail.
Oh!
The fact that the narrative supports his grandiose delusions is enough to cause an aneurysm. I didn't have much tolerance for, well, most people, but I really hated cattiness. If a girl had to scrunch up her nose and pinch her eyebrows together at the same time just to talk, then she was perfect for the kind of activities that didn't require any talking. This is coming from the guy who pretended to be angry and moved his head like a snake.
I'm a snake.
Jared, you are a clown, a buffoon, a wasted testicle. You're in this picture. The afternoon was waning and the peaceful lull between the 9 to 5ers getting home and eating dinner had commenced. I loved this time of day. The light to the west created a kaleidoscope of oranges and greens behind my eyelids, and I absorbed the delusion of this neighbourhood that existed around, but not in. This doesn't sound anything like Jared, but also no one cares. Put your purple crayon away and shut up. There are assaults to commit. His dad calls him to tell him to put money in his account. The money I gave him to stop calling Jax was supposed to be a one-time thing, but it hadn't been. He'd give Jax a break, but he always called again, and I kept paying, just so Jax could have that break. Can Jax, I don't know, change his number? Or is this an obvious way of showing us how Jared's actually a great bloke or some rubbish? And plus, what's the reason he doesn't turn to the obvious solution of telling the authorities about his sexy, sexy dad's behaviour? Obviously, what his dad did was fine and just misunderstood. But Jared does seem concerned about it. Tate's feet, propped up on the railing outside her French doors, sat angled, and I focused on her. The rest of her was hidden, but I watched her anyway, knowing she was there, feeling the energy that always rolled off of her. Call it hate, call it lust. Wasn't love, though. I'd call it a foot fetish. The breath leaving my body got quieter and quieter. It started pouring in and out like water instead of syrup. What does that even mean? Jared arranges to race his car tomorrow at the Loop so he can pay for his dad's cigarettes, and then he picks up his brother to bring him to his party. Look at baby Jared, Maddox shouted as we climbed out the car. Maddox had arrived at my place early to set up, and from the looks of it, the party had already started. Jax rammed his shoulder into Maddox's chest, laughing. Yeah, I hear you like young boys. Only if they're as pretty as you, princess. And I rolled my eyes as Maddox wrapped his arms around my brother and dry humped him from behind. They're essentially a pack of coyotes whose brains have been starved of oxygen. Jared has his party. Oh man, you know how to kiss, she gasped out. He's literally spent tens of hours destoning peaches with his tongue whilst listening to Your Tears Don't Fall. This girl, she'd said her name was Sarah. Why not just call her Sarah then, you dehumanizing wet wipe? He's just penised too many girls to remember or believe their names are what they say there are. Oh, but don't call him kid. He's 17 and dangerous. I didn't know her. She showed up as a friend of a friend and went to a school 2 towns over. I believe you, mate. Her hair was soft, her lips were softer, and she acted like she had a brain, as opposed to you, who acts like he doesn't have a brain, just a tiny swinging dick behind those eyes. Shame we don't have a scene of her using that brain to disagree with him, which would infuriate him, or her recognizing what a steaming pile he is. That's it. Hang on. That's it. Jared is the slut, and all the local girls know it. He's super easy, everyone has a go, and they never bother to call him again because he can't string a sentence together without getting angry or crying. It's like everyone knowing that Bruce Wayne is Batman, but everyone in Gotham pretends it's a secret because they feel sorry for the fact he can't get over the death of his parents because he refuses to go to therapy. My lips caressed her neck, sweet smelling and smooth, as my hand glided down her slim body. Her nipple hardened as I brushed it lightly on my way down to her tight stomach. Again, this book is about teenagers, so this text is certainly a choice. Hang on, my phone keeps going off. It's Chris Hansen again. I ran over her hip bone. With what? A car? I'm not a slut, she said softly. That's okay. Jared is. Yeah, I was used to this part. Girls usually felt guilty about being too easy, like there was some double standard that a guy could enjoy sex but not girls. And what's worse, girls were the ones who perpetuated this standard. Guys didn't use the word slut. We didn't judge. She didn't need to reassure me of anything. Like there's a double standard. There is a double standard. And yes, men do perpetuate it and judge a woman's worth based on her body count. Is the author high or an insufferable pick-me? Jared's also a pick-me. If Jared truly believed this, he wouldn't have been so psyched about Tate being a virgin in the OG Bully. Impaled upon your own sword, you dick. To the surprise of no one, Jared fails to understand any kind of reality and then proceeds to blame women. This is the guy who either doesn't remember or pretends to not remember the names of all the girls he's been with and thrown away, and calls them toys. So whilst making out with her, Jared starts imagining he's with Tate and that she loves him. Then he snaps out of it and he's crying on Sarah, who he's about to have sex with. No, I'm not okay, I muttered and turned to grip the sink ledge. Just go on out, I feel sick. Do you want me to get someone? Just go, I shouted. What a gentleman. Then he tactical chunders for reasons. Jared, you okay? Someone burst in. God damn it, can't people just leave me alone? I spit up the rest of what was coming from my stomach and looked over at who was at the door. Shit. Jax, I started but couldn't finish. He was shrinking away. He didn't speak again, only looked away and backed out of the bathroom, closing the door. And in that moment, I was no better than our father. Holy neurosis, Batman. You raising your voice does not equal trying to lock your brother in a freezer. Then the lights go out because Tate has cut the power. The key her father left me to watch over the house was still on my keyring, so I dug it out of my pants and charged through the back door, not caring if she heard me. She'd find out soon enough that I was in her house anyway. God, I can't believe she cut the electricity to my house. My blood swirled like wind inside of me, but believe it or not, it felt easy. This is where I was strong. Was I supposed to be in here? No. What would I do or say when I got to her? I had no idea, but I wanted this fight. He has the power of 1,000 exploding suns when he's about to yell at a small woman, and it's actually quite impressive. Was that a bat she was holding? Yeah, that was going to help. She wasn't safe from me, and now she knew it. These are the actual thoughts he has about the person he ends up with. Again, it's a tragedy horror. She was pissed too from the look in her eyes, but her breathing wasn't hard and deep. It was fast and shallow. She was scared. Get out! Are you crazy? She tried to dart around me to get out of the room, but I cut her off. You cut the electricity to my house. I kept my voice low and even. I didn't want her afraid of me. It's not like I would hurt her. Are you joking? He's like Jekyll and Hyde, except Hyde has emerged from the swamp toilet to contradict everything he's just told us about how much he's raring to go for this fight. And he's glad that she knows her bat won't keep her safe from him as he charges into her house at night in a fury. But again, he wouldn't hurt her. Oh baby, my face relaxed and I orchestrated a very fake and creepy smile. She did not want to play with me like this. The girl he would never hurt is now terrified of the creepy smile he's told us he's doing deliberately. A tranquilizer gun would have resolved this plot point so quickly. James Brandt, I was pretty sure, knew next to nothing about my relationship with his daughter. Tate didn't go whining about the state of affairs between us, because if she did, I was sure I'd be missing a couple of limbs. He knows it's wrong. He knows he's bad to Tate for no reason. There's no excusing it. Get out, she ordered, disgust and ire written all over her face, and I clenched my fists. Advancing on her until she was backed up against her French doors, I hovered down and let her know who was really in control here. Lesson 1, Tate. I don't do what I'm told. You're a nosy bitch, Tatum. Keep your ass on your own side of the fence. I almost laughed at her spunk. She was now trying to prove what a fighter she could be, and I plastered both my hands on each side of her head, letting her know that she wasn't even in my weight class. This level of non-consensual threat from an unsafe man shouldn't be a turn-on, but of course it makes Tate horny, and Jared realizes that she's checking him out. My mind is actually tearing down the middle as I try to reconcile him lunging at her with clenched fists and his best Hot Topic Joker smile somehow being arousing while she quivers like Wendy with her bat. Here's Jared. I enjoyed a great view down her black tank top and over the tops of her perfect breasts. I liked that I could see a sliver of her stomach where the waistband of her little boxer shorts was rolled over. And I love thinking about what she'd sound like moaning my name. But I hated that looking into her eyes was the best view of all. She saw me, the real me, and it was the only time I actually felt like I existed. But she also saw all of the ugliness and confusion. She saw everything that made me a loser. This frightened miner has the best tits, it has to be said. In fact, it has been said a lot. My phone keeps going off. Leave me alone, Chris. And the real Jared is the one who deserves to be fed scrote first into a particularly rusty wood chipper. Anything else you think or she sees is delusion and apologia. Once again, I invite you to rest in piss. What did I ever do to you? She screamed. I shrugged my shoulders, not willing to tell her the truth. I don't know why you ever thought you did something. You were clingy, and I got sick of putting up with it all. She wasn't clingy. She was dishonest and unreliable. He is less justified in his jealous rage than the villain in Megamind. That's not true. I wasn't clingy, she choked on a breath. You were over at my house as much as I was at yours. We were friends. She looked at me with such sadness. Her face was tight and her tears pooled in her eyes. All a lie. I smiled, but it burned with more anger than amusement. Yeah, keep living the dream. I hate you. And there it was. He has deliberately pushed her to this point and then wants to pretend that she's the bad one when she finally reacts. It's like when blokes push their girlfriends so hard, when they react badly to it, they feel justified in calling said girlfriend psycho or crazy. Like blood is pooling around my brain as worms slowly devour it. I can't follow what the logic of this story was meant to be. He has told us over and over and over again that he's deliberately hurting her for his own gain, for his own amusement. So what is this reaction? Worms. Worms in my brain. I slammed my fist. Nope. No, he didn't do that yet. Give it time. And I slammed the palm of my hand against the wall near her head. She flinched and my heart did a nosedive straight to my stomach. Shit, I'd scared her. Why did I just do that? I backed off an inch. I wanted to hit something, but not her. Juice. I didn't want her to think I'd even come close to doing that, ever. I'd never hit a girl and I would never hit one in my life. The author is scrambling to justify all of his behaviour from the first book. Having been inside Jared's head, I could 100% believe he would actually physically abuse women. So good job, Penelope. You have achieved nothing. I've never hit a woman, and I never would. But if I did, which I haven't, and wouldn't, but if I did, which I haven't, then it's probably fair to say that slut was being a bitch, Your Honour. Luckily, the police arrive at Jared's before he can start punching holes in Tate's wall. Not a euphemism. Leave the key, she shouted after me. But I never do what I'm told. Other catchphrases of Jared's include, shut up, mum, I never asked to be born, and nobody knows what it's like to be the sad man. Chapter 14. After I cleared everyone out of my house, the cops wrote me a huge ass ticket and called my mother. But it all affected me about as much as war in the Middle East. Wars in the Middle East directly affect gas prices, which, you use for your stupid car and your stupid races. So you are uncultured as well as ugly. Tate was the only thing on my mind now. Any inkling that what I was thinking of doing might be going too far was shoved out of my head. Did she really set out to hurt me? No. Was I setting out to hurt her? Definitely. But it was all a game. Yes, abuse is a real Spyro the Dragon, isn't it? He then goes to the cinema to bother Casey at work. Casey was Tate's best friend, her only friend really. Winning her over, possibly seducing her, would tear Tate apart, and I was ignoring the voice in my head that kept screaming at me to stop this. This was going too far. I was about to use someone to hurt a girl I once loved. Who the hell did I take lessons from in pettiness? It was probably a woman who taught him to be this petty, because men can never be responsible for their own actions. Also, this is a tepid attempt at diverting us from the truth that there is no voice inside that would tell him to stop or attempt to make better choices. It's just him in there and the other toilet monster. Tate's arrival back home brought ups and downs. My ups were better than I'd felt in a year, but my downs had me clawing at the walls again. Casey was collateral damage. How are we meant to root for a protagonist who dehumanizes everyone he comes across? Get it? Her boyfriend, while a pretty nice guy, was also pretty damn pathetic. He's the type of guy that would give up top secret information in the first 5 minutes of torture. I had no respect for him. Jared has daydreams of surviving torture, probably because he thinks he survived getting his shit tattoos, which, in fact, don't really... I don't have any tattoos. I clearly did not write that part. Also, what possible information could Jared have that would be worth anything to anyone? Maybe his sexy dad's address? And with all of his weaknesses, I also found out one more. Several weeks ago at the Loop one night, I saw that he had a girl on the side. And that was my ticket in with Casey. Break up her relationship, get her in my corner, and piss Tate off. And seeing as Casey goes along with this, everyone in this book is such a piece of shit. He offers to take her to the race to surprise her boyfriend, and after 1 second of rejection, she changes her mind and decides to do it. So he takes her to the race, and surprise, surprise, Casey finds out that Liam is cheating. And I'm just thinking of KFC. I don't even eat KFC. Haven't in years. That's not true, actually. They have a vegan burger. It sucks. It's so dry. But I just keep thinking of KFC when I say KC. Please, Liam started, but Maddox cut him off. It's not what it looks like, he finished for Liam, laughing. Shut up, goddammit! Liam barked at Maddox while my friend laughed even harder. Yeah, cheating is hilarious, my dude. Liam reached for Casey, but she pulled away. Don't touch me. I trusted you. Dude. Hands off. I stepped in. Penelope really believes Jared is a hero because he won't touch a girl. Psychological torture, bullying, punching walls right next to a girl's ear, absolutely fine. Actually roughing them up a bit, that's where we draw the line. But Casey ignored the question. Who is she? She looked at the redhead leaned up against Liam's camera. Please, the redhead, who didn't seem phased at all, pleaded sarcastically. We've been seeing each other for 2 months. Not so bright, are you? All women are cartoon villains. She might actually just be Jessica Rabbit.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Would you take me home, please? Her breathing was ragged and she looked embarrassed and heartbroken. I'm a dick. Yeah, I sighed, all of a sudden feeling really shitty. Yeah, no, I'm not. buying this. In fact, I'm confused as to whose internal dialogue this is, as Jared does not have a conscience. After the race, I drove Casey home, probably not feeling as badly as her, but definitely not feeling good. What do you mean, probably not feeling as bad as her, you absolute narc? Nothing about what I was doing was right, but flip me. It was the only plan I had to shatter Tate's world. But he's not evil because he's never actually ever hit Tate. Just almost hit her. It's fine. Did you know about this? She used her fingers to wipe away the tears and mascara streaks. I almost felt like throwing up. Absolutely not. I lied. And if I did, I wouldn't have told you. Sorry, it's a guy code. And that part was the truth. Unless the girlfriend of a friend is also your friend, then you don't interfere. This book is making my depression worse. And it's hilarious that Jared would even claim to live by any kind of code, even one as shitty as that. Let's not forget, I never do what I'm told. Hey, look, believe it or not, I'm really sorry you're hurting, I offered, pulling up in front of her house. Go eat chocolate or binge shop online, whatever girls do to feel better. He's that old-fashioned type of sexist. Also, guys, at the time of me recording this, one of my TikToks is doing really well, because it's just me being like, oh, teehee, I'm scared of flying. So go follow me on TikTok, because if I get to 10k on TikTok, I get to access the Creator Fund. And if I get to access the Creator Fund, I'm leaving YouTube. I'm joking. I would never. YouTube's my baby. But I'm going to be uploading more stuff on TikTok just because I love to yap. But my joke didn't lighten the mood. You think you're so much better than him? And even though I knew she made a valid point, I did think I was better than Liam. I don't know why. Good one, author. Maybe because I saw Liam as spineless. If I lied, it was for a good reason. Not just because I was too weak to let go of what I no longer wanted. But I was, wasn't I? I couldn't let Tate go. I can't believe I'm listening to this absolute crap when I could be doing anything else productive in my time. Like, I don't know, playing Assassin's Creed. I never finished the Origins one, the one based in ancient Egypt. Never finished it. Yes, I finally answered. I don't cheat on girlfriends because I don't give the impression that I want a relationship. I'm so tired of this book being objectively wrong. It would be more productive to spend my time yelling at a brick wall. Liam, even with his cheating, is a better bloke than Jared. The bar is on the ocean floor. I may go through girls faster than gum, but it's not because I feel that they're worthless or disposable. The fact that you just compared women to chewing gum does indeed show that you think they are disposable, you absolute freak. No, I do know. I thought to myself, who else are you going to think to? I know very well what happens when you let people in. He must be alluding to Tate here, but the logic makes zero sense because Tate didn't do anything wrong. She didn't backstab him. She didn't cheat on him. She didn't do anything to justify him being a dick, nor justify him pushing people away and keeping them out. And he can't actually mean his dad because he never like let his dad in. He just went to his dad's for a summer holiday and then had like the summer holiday from hell. So the only person that applies here is Tate, but it doesn't work. Over the next 2 days, I slowly weaseled my way into Casey's life, shooting her concerned texts and trying to appear sincere. I wasn't sure if she was disclosing our communications to Tate, but it was only a matter of time before I made sure Tate found out. Anyway, it must be exhausting being this pathetic. I would never know. And also, Jared, just off at the top of your dome, why is cheating on your girlfriend with a cartoon villain somehow worse than this very deliberate act of manipulative abuse? I'll take any answer. Chapter 15. Jared picks Casey up from work and she's flirting with him because Liam is nearby. I smiled, pretty proud of her for using me, actually. Pair of cretins perfect for each other then. Tate had been giving me the evil eye today, and if I could continue to get under her skin while helping Casey make her boyfriend jealous without actually having to go that far with her, then I was comfortable. None of this makes Jared a rootable protagonist. After he takes Casey home, he gets stalked by some previous losers from the races. Like literal losers, like they lost the race. Tate. I darted my eyes to her house, fear gripping my insides, and I gritted my teeth with the urge to hit myself. Why had I led them back here? Tate was alone, and now she was unsafe. Who knew what kind of weapons these guys carried? She's unsafe being next to you, you cognitive dissonant cretin. Jared starts to get beaten up, thankfully. But then unthankfully, Maddox appears, and then the blokes pull out a knife, but unfortunately don't kill Jared. Tate was standing there, on the walkway leading up to her porch, just standing there and staring at us, a little scared, a little confused, and in her goddamn underwear. What the hell? Maddox was here. 2 other guys, although unconscious, were here. My blood boiled and heat immediately rushed to my pants. She was also not naked or in her underwear. She's in a t-shirt and boxers. I would not qualify that as underwear. But Jared is the one who is the true threat here. Vulnerable women always move towards danger, dressed in very little. Our little women brains don't know any better, so we can't sling a jacket on or anything, just tiny-brained little dolls falling into danger. It didn't matter though, you could still make out everything, and she was perfect. My heart was jackhammering so hard and fast at her skimpy attire that I just wanted to peel everything off of her and sink my hands into her body, here and now. See, he's the true threat, not these people beating him up. I have lost count of the number of times he has described being able to make out her figure and why he lusts after her, and not once has he mentioned her personality. Though based off of Bully, she doesn't seem to have one. But before I could even sift through my thoughts, she quirked an annoyed eyebrow and stomped back up her front porch and through the door to her house, giving me a great view of her ass. Maddox laughed and I shoved him in the shoulder before stalking off towards my house. I had a hard-on and a bloody arm, and I wasn't sure what I needed first, stitches or a cold shower. He probably just pours whiskey onto his wounds and tells the infections to fuck off because he lives his life entirely off the model of shit films from Redbox. He texts Casey that they should make Liam jealous together. Is my hair bad? I feel like my hair is bad. Not that you can answer this, but I feel like it's horrible. I didn't watch it from the airport yesterday. Shh, I was only on the plane for an hour. It doesn't matter. Maybe it does. After my shower, I wrapped a towel around my waist and stopped short at the bathroom mirror, glimpsing my tattoos. I pronounced all of that horribly. Bathroom mirror, glimpsing my tattoos. That was awful. I couldn't help but smile, remembering how my mother had yelled at me the night before. Okay. Fighting, she screamed. Getting arrested? And tattoos without my permission? She'd said as if, she sounds like she's from London. She'd said as if that was the worst one of all. I'd only laughed under my breath and laid my head back in the car, trying to sleep as she drove us home from the hospital. Is there a single woman that he does take seriously? It's amazing that he needs women at all when he's more than capable of masturbating over himself. What's in it for you? Casey asked. Well, I couldn't tell her the truth. Fun. I don't know, she texted. Tate's already mad at me. Tate won't know, I lied and threw the phone on my bed to go get dressed. Not manipulative at all. Chapter 16. Jared and Casey flirt and be all touchy at school together to make Liam jealous. And I pulled her into me, kissing her long and slow, her slender frame molded into mine, and she tilted her head to the sides as I trailed a line to her ear. She was easy in my hands, small, soft, bending. When I pulled, she knew what to do. Casey definitely wasn't innocent. I could feel that. Funny how Jared's all like, oh, as if there's a double standard, as if women aren't allowed to enjoy sex. But then he's the one using words like innocent to describe a woman. If there was no double standard, Jared, why would it matter? Why would that be a descriptor of a woman? My lips and hands went through the motions. Kiss, kiss, bite, squeeze, and nothing happened. What the hell? I knew I wasn't interested in her, but damn, I should feel You shouldn't feel that. I should feel some kind of jolt, some kind of reaction. She had tits after all. Tell me again how you don't objectify women. The second bell rang. Casey jumped and I leaned back, still held hostage by the fact that the only time I'd gotten a hard on lately was around Tate. Must be true love them. Also, it's the way that, yes, Casey was using Jared to make Liam jealous, but she could have told Tate it was all an elaborate ploy, rather than have Tate think she's actually with her bully, enemy, arch nemesis. None of it makes sense. Maddox had probably scored more tail than I had. Who talks like this? Boy, he sure was a cool cat around town, scoring with the dames and being a real slick customer, and whatever else they didn't actually say in the 40s.
Did those bullets scramble your egg? Or have you always been a naughty broad? You're one sick pussycat, baby.
With Tate? Why do we do it? I know I've asked before, but you don't tell me shit. I just don't get it. Jesus Christ. I turned around to face him, done talking about this. He'd asked lots of times before, and each time I targeted that girl, it was for a different reason. I liked playing games. I wanted control. I was protecting her. I never had an answer that satisfied me, let alone worth repeating. In my head, it always seemed reasonable, but saying it out loud sounded crazy. Well, there's an excuse. I'll tell you the real reason why it is, Jared. It's because you're a mentally ill infant who refuses to go get therapy and seek help. You're not complex, it's not a complicated problem. But while Maddox was curious, he was also game. Anytime I wanted to help spread a rumour or messing around with Tate over the years, he'd always stepped up, at my request and of his own volition. So he's just a mindless follower. How do he and Tate become besties by the end? Is this wish fulfillment? I'm going to put forward just a rogue idea, that maybe Penelope is working through their own issues, trying to justify letting people treat them this way, and it's fine because they're all friends afterwards or something. It's just a guess. But I'm right. My first party this year when she screamed, "Cops!" Did I tell him to put his hands on her? I mean, it would be weird if you did, but it's also sus that you're happily friends with someone who gropes girls. Maddox tells Jared Tate and Ben went on a date and he freaks out over it. That's fine, I clipped out, barely unscrewing my jaw to speak. What? I couldn't care less. They can all have her. But I never, for a single second, meant it. I don't care about what you want. No, Tate thought Casey and I were hooking up. Telling the school she had genital warts or lice had been mean, but still funny. Trying to steal her best friend was cruel. It would really hurt her. I don't know, the genital warts thing sounds kind of cruel too, mate. But day after day, I caught myself mesmerized by her every move, the methodical way she'd sharpened her precious pencils. The one time he mentions something he admires about her that isn't her tits or her ass, it's the way she handles phallic objects. Like, she's not even safe sharpening her pencils. Every bit of skin, every smile, every time she licks her lips had a lightning storm shooting downwards from my stomach to my I almost wish she was back in France. It would be safer for Tate if she was back in France and an entire ocean was between her and Jared. Deep breaths, everyone, for the next bit. Let's get back to a sense of equilibrium. Deep, calming breaths. In through the nose, 4 seconds. Pause, 2 seconds. Out through the mouth for 8 seconds. I had wanted to hurt her. I didn't want her to hurt. I hated her. I loved her. I wanted to violate her body in 100 different ways. I wanted to keep her safe. Try not to sound like a rapist challenge. Impossible. King Joffrey, Ramsay Bolton, and this guy. The unholy trinity of people who should have been devoured by dogs at birth. However, by junior and senior year, my childish rumours were about as effective as a broken condom. I wanted to keep guys away from Tate, but that wasn't working so much anymore. They saw she was beautiful, and now, after the locker room incident, they saw her as a slut too. Hang on, didn't he literally say earlier that men don't view women as sluts? For the love of God, hire a proofreader. I will do it for free, even though I despise all of these authors and their works. I will do it for you. Also, he only wants to be nice, aka get into her pants now because the other guys also want her. Tate tells Jared his parents hate him. My eyes sharpened on her and I remembered exactly why I hated her. She was packaged up to look like a good girl, but make no mistake, there was a bitch in there. Jared, if you were my kid, I would hate you too. Victimizing someone for years, humiliating them in public, and making them a target of sexual assault from your own friends whom you refuse to hold accountable does not make someone a bitch when they react to you, you narcissistic sack of rancid afterbirth. Wow. God, it's hot. Oh, like a Victorian woman. God, I should be an actor. I really should. God, wasted on YouTube. Should be an actor. It will happen. It will never happen. Tate was joining Ben Jameson and they were moving their desks face to face. Strange thing was, I felt nothing looking at her, like I was numb. The need I felt 2 minutes ago to hold her and tell her I was sorry was completely gone now. And what's more, I didn't even feel angry either. Tate was lost to me. I didn't care. I was shit. I didn't care about that either. She looked at me every once in a while. I didn't want her. I didn't hate her. I just didn't care. Bet this lasts for an entire page. He could have been like grade 6 in classical trombone or whatever if he developed a personality instead of a psychosexual victim complex. Chapter 17. He's hanging out with Casey playing pool. I turned around and cocked my head to the side, peering at her. You could have used any guy to make Liam jealous, Casey. Why me? You knew that it would hurt Tate if she thought you were hooking up with me. My mum is, she almost whispered, overbearing. She shook her head like the word overbearing was too simplistic. She picks out my clothes, checks my phone, picks my classes, and she even... But my breath caught and she choked back a dry sob. My mouth went dry and I stilled. Jesus, I don't think this is picked up again in this book. But by the way, there's like 100 more of these books, so... What wasn't she saying? Using her thumb, she caught her tears as they fell. Anyway, after Liam, I was just sick of being me, sick of being weak and pushed around. I thought Jared Trent would get under Liam's skin like no other. But you knew it would hurt Tate, I restated, still searching for a reason why she would hurt her so-called best friend. Yeah, she sighed, not part of the plan, but I guessed it figured it would turn around this game you two play, move things along, so to speak. I pinched my eyebrows together. Even at the risk of losing your friend? I asked. But she shocked me by exhaling a laugh. You're not that powerful, Jared. She looked down, then continued softly. Tate and I will be fine. She can't know about this, though. She knows who she is. She's not silly or insecure. I don't want her judging me for playing this game with Liam. I don't want anyone to know. What? No traumatic backstory to justify what she's doing to Tate? Or are men the only ones who are allowed to have those? I'm still none the wiser as to why Casey hasn't told Tate any of this. The whole story takes place in the most simplistic town imaginable, where everyone thinks abuse is punching someone. It must be something in the water to keep the IQ down at refrigerated levels. She put her feet back on the carpet and straightened up, meeting my eyes. Jared, I have no idea what your problem is with her, but I know you're not a bad guy. I thought when she got back, things would be different. You two would be over this mess. He's not a bad guy. He's a psychopath who definitely spent his childhood pulling the wings off of butterflies. But he's not a bad guy. Casey narrowed her eyes to slits and tipped her chin up. You love her, she said, not asked, and my face flushed. If by love you mean abuse, then by that metric, Jared's hot dad simply adores him and Freezer Boy. Movie? I suggested, trying to change the subject. Sure. Do you like dance movies? And I almost kicked her out of my house right then and there. A vagina? Having an interest outside of my scope? NIMBY. Not in my backyard. Thick rain poured down outside and the air felt dense with energy. That is not the only thing that feels dense around here. Casey goes home. Tate was in the tree. My fingers clenched the windowsill. The first thing that came to mind was an angel. Her hair flowing and shiny, her legs dangling, long and smooth. She looked perfect where she was, like a painting. Then I remembered that Satan was also an angel. Don't kid yourself. Satan had charisma. You're more like an eternal fungal infection. Her demeanor had me puzzled. She wasn't timid, but she wasn't engaging either. Did she feel bad about what she said to me today? Well, I didn't need her pity. I wanted her anger. Don't feel sorry for me. I wanted her to sit there and own what she did. Don't apologize and don't shy away. Get mad at me, Tate. It must be exhausting needing this much attention. Why would anyone feel bad about anything they do to this oozing puddle of self-pity? Every muscle in my body tightened. I wanted to shake her and yell, yeah, I don't care if anything bad ever happens to you. But I couldn't. I did care, goddammit, and I wanted to punch them all because... Oh, nothing shows love like leaving dents in drywall. Why the hell did I care about anything she did? Who she dated? Who she screwed? But then I guess I'd be miserable too if my parents hated me. Her words spread like tentacles from my brain, sucking the life out of everything good I'd ever thought about her. Every memory. I had to cut her out of my heart and my head. Tatum? I almost hesitated but forced out the rest. I wouldn't care if you were dead or alive. I turned my back on her and finally just walked away, which again lasts for about a page. I love how he's that insecure that a single line from Tate, which can't be worse than most of the things he's done to her, has completely destroyed his ego and turned his life upside down. Is this what people mean when they say fragile masculinity? Jared's masculinity is so fragile, it's made of that antique bone china so fine it's actually translucent. But apparently Liam's the one that's spineless. Chapter 19. Derek Roman will be back in town for the weekend. He wants to race you on Friday night. I groaned inwardly, not because I thought I would lose, but because Roman was a huge bucket of dick. Yeah, what I did to Tate the last few years, this guy did 10 times worse to half the school when he went there. Now there's an excuse. And also, if that was true, he would be wanted by Interpol as a human face-wearing rapist serial killer.
Good morning.
You're racing Liam, right? Casey asked Maddox. He looked at her across the table and smirked. I don't know if we would call it racing, more like castration. Just be careful, okay? She looked concerned. Really? Maddox leaned his chest forward into the back of his chair. Casey, his voice was low and husky. I'm picturing you naked right now. I wasn't laughing at that, I was laughing at me, being like, what the hell? And I couldn't help it. The snort came out, my chest exploded with laughter as I buried my forehead into my hand. But he would never hit a woman or call her a slut. And yet this is fine. It's all fine. It's clearly fine. Anyway, sadly, none of them die at the race. Ugh, Casey grumbled in disgust. Standing up, she straightened her cut-off jean skirt and stalked towards the cafeteria doors, but Maddox and I still couldn't control ourselves. God, he's the best. If your other choices are between Hitler, Stalin, and the Kim dynasty, then yeah, sure, I can see how Maddox would be considered the best. Amongst non-dictators, not so much. Maddox stood up, still chuckling. Casey, come on, it was a joke. But she didn't turn around, and we kept laughing. Later, when this book will inevitably attempt to convince you Jared is a secret poet with #deep thoughts, remember this moment and realize the author thinks you're an idiot. Tate and I had made eye contact a few times throughout the day. God, I bet he popped a hard on over that. The storm in her eyes had turned into a drizzle, but I didn't spend time thinking about it. You just poeticized like water in her eyes. I think you were thinking about it. I couldn't. The shit between us was over. It'd been over for a long time for her, but for me, it needed to end pronto. Themes class passed peacefully, but Penley had us arrange our desks in circles, so I had a perfect view of Tate sitting across from me. He says it's over, and then is obsessed with her again in the very next paragraph. If this was done by a more competent author, I would assume it's deliberate. The absolute brass balls on Penelope for insinuating themes are important in a piece of literature, when actually we've proven that there's no link between a character's behaviour and the resolution, rendering themes and all human logic meaningless. You just got literatured by someone who knows more than me. I was ready to just get the hell out of here and take Madman to the lake. Poor dog had been ignored lately with my school work and being gone on weekends. Sometimes I took him with me when I spent time with Jax, but sleeping in my bed was usually the only time I got to hang out with him. It briefly crossed my mind to see if Tate wanted to take him sometimes, give the guy some extra attention, but I pushed that thought out of my head right away. Ah yes, the animal has to suffer because the bloke is a caveman. Sure, why even include this detail, if not for rage bait? Also, Madman gets to sleep in Jared's bed because he's not a bitch. Tate wants to perform her monologue. We have 5 minutes left of class. Her voice was polite. May I perform my monologue now? What the hell? This project wasn't due for a while, and everyone's eyes, including Penley's, bugged out. What the hell was Tate doing? You know, sometimes I think that I'm dramatic, but I would never lose my mind over something as banal as this. It's a hilarious moment in which Penelope forgets that just because a story beat is important to their plot, it isn't necessarily remotely important to anyone in the scene. No, I'll have that by the due date, but I'd really love to perform it now, please. My teeth ground together. I hope your enamel wears down and you have a hefty dentist bill, and then have to get veneers, and then have teeth like Katie Price. I pinched my eyebrows together. This phrase is used 16 times in the book. I checked. Get good, Penelope. Sounds like a skill issue to me. Tate does her boring monologue. She was looking at me like she used to, like I was everything. Because a woman only has value / deserves to be respected if they have deference for the most below average men you've ever seen. And don't flatter yourself, Jared. She was thinking about your dad. Piles and piles of shit whirled through my mind. I can believe that. Had she loved me? No. She was lying. She had to be. Logically, what on earth would she get out of lying about that? It's so contrived and stupid. And the denial into which he has to fly in order to avoid thinking about what a huge crotch stain he is amazing. She acted like she cared about me. Her words told me she remembered everything that used to be good between us. But the ending, it was like a goodbye. Oh my God, shut up, you loser. You already said at the beginning of this chapter, I have to shut the door to this. And now he's been like, oh, she's saying goodbye to me. God, he's such a loser. People scurried around me, giving Tate congratulations on a job well done, going about their business as if my world wasn't crumbling. Wow, can't believe Jared isn't the focal point of everyone else's existence. Bet they're all sluts anyway. She was lying. It was all an act. All I'd wanted when I was 14 was her, and she hadn't been thinking about me when I was screaming for her. She didn't miss me while I was at my father's that summer. She didn't want me then, and she didn't want me now. He does make a fine point, you know. A 14-year-old rejected him once. So she really had it coming. But I couldn't. I needed to hate Tate. I needed to hate her, because if I didn't have a place to sink all of my energy, then I'd spin out again. My father would have me, and I wouldn't have her to zone in on. Therapy. And the absolute self-centeredness of this, the fact that readers rooted for this romance, chills me. She was looking at me like I was nothing, like I wasn't the focus of her life when she was the focus of everything in mine. Not a moment's reflection on how he's treated every other woman he encounters. He has to cry about himself. He may be the weakest man in all of fiction. I already covered this bit in the last video, so I can't really be asked to go over it again, but he attempts to have sex with Piper in the bathroom to get his frustrations out, and he's very sexist about it. Again, it's insane that a few words from Tate absolutely destroyed this man, because he is so fragile and insecure deep down. Jared, what's weird for you? You've been acting weird ever since the school year started. Her whiny ass voice. Why didn't people ever know when to shut up? Jared has precisely one skill, and he's a master at it. Making his problem everyone else's problem. He goes home. The truth was, I wish I could go back to that day in the park, back to the fish pond when I decided I needed her to hurt. I would have done it differently. Instead of pushing her away, I would have buried my face into her hair and let her bring me back from wherever I'd gone. She wouldn't have had anything to say or do, just fill my world. Again, Tate is only worth being nice to if he has a use or something to get out of her. I'd push Tate away, but there were other girls out there. Or you could just not inflict yourself upon other women. So then he beats up his refrigerator. I'm not joking. It's no Edward Cullen beating up that tree, is it? I started pounding the steel doors. Every muscle in my body felt choked as I slammed my palm against the appliance again and again. Madman yelped and scurried away. All the shit my mum had sitting up on top turned over or shattered to the ground, and I just kept going, using both hands to slam it time and time again against the wall. Yeah, this bloke definitely is not a danger to Tate. Let me do a Jordan Peterson voice. How does he sound again? Well, it depends what you... I can't do a Jordan Peterson voice. How does he sound? How's Kermit the Frog sound? The refrigerator represents the cool detachment of his much more... That is not Jordan Peterson. I don't know what that is. Anyway, the refrigerator represents the cool detachment of his much more attractive father. Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who. On my way up the stairs, I noticed the front door was open. Shit. It must not have latched when I slammed it before. A madman got out, no doubt. I kicked the door. Hard. Awesome. Even the dog had left. So instead of doing the right thing and, I don't know, go look for his dog, he gets drunk instead to drown out Tate's monologue. Again, a monologue did this to him. He is that pathetic. And women are rooting for a man who can't even bring himself to care about a loyal animal he supposedly loves. I'm actually glad that he never got a hobby, because I'm afraid it would have been skinning live cats. Anyway, I got depressed even worse, yeah, because I got curious. I looked it up. There are 4 main novels in the Fall Away series, which is what this is, and 4 novellas, though the final one is just a cash grab of no new content, but 2 of the existing novellas smushed together for financial reasons. So at least you guys can look forward to 6 more videos on this series, and I can look forward to the brain rot and lobotomy I'm going to need afterwards. Just make me a lobotomite. Just pull my brain out of my skull. That's a reference to Fallout New Vegas, big MT.
The lobotomite returns!
There was nothing to say. The guy she knew when we were 14 was gone. My parents had left me. She'd left me. I was on my own, just like that hot, sexy dad said I'd be. He's acting as though he had nothing to do with her leaving him. After all I did was begin a hate campaign that spanned years, making her life miserable, giving her anxiety attacks, and forcing her to leave the country. Why did she leave me? Why was she so weak? The stinging nip of hatred and hell crawled. He's so dramatic, and for what? So dramatic. So dramatic, but not nearly as poetic as the first few pages of Crime and Punishment, when main character, I can't remember his name, sorry, when he's describing the wretched misery of the streets of St. Petersburg. So beautiful, so well written. This crap crawled up its way into my neck and into my head until my nerves burned so badly I wanted to rip off my skin just to breathe. Can I suggest journaling? Anyway, then he beats up the rest of his house. I already said, but it's giving when Edward beat up that tree, but even worse. And good God, I miss Edward Cullen. All is forgiven, my love, my shiny, sparkling prince. Please come back to me. I'm literally going to do a video where I'm just going to make a public apology to Stephanie Meyer, because I dare not watch those first Twilight videos, because I'm sure I just rode her so hard when clearly I didn't need to. Clearly my energy was better spent elsewhere. I'm sorry for most of it, Steph. I really am. Please come back to please write another book. Release me. I shattered everything, swinging the fire poker at everything and anything. That is something that just gave me ick. Imagine a man with a fire poker, just it's like an Anna Karenina when someone's talking about, this man, he was so furious, he started shaking his stick at me. This is giving me the ick. Dare I say, it's not a masculine thing to do, get a fire poker and just smashing up a vase. Because he's meant to be uber masculine, manly and scary, but that's not, whatever. I know what I mean. Don't you dare take me out of context. Every picture that my mother had of me smiling and every figurine that gave me the impression we were a happy household was destroyed. In 2 hours, he doesn't stop for 2 hours. The house was ripped apart from top to bottom as I got lost and exhausted. He spends an entire 2 hours doing this. Can I suggest a rage room? Can I suggest therapy? Can I suggest that Jared is a danger to women everywhere? He gets even more drunk and Tate appears. I twisted my head and immediately lost my breath. Tate? Ah, Jesus Christ, no, no, no. She was here and in shorts and a tank top. I just know he's the type to say, well, what was she wearing? Everything about these moments makes my skin crawl. The way he's always commenting on what she's wearing as though it's somehow an affront to him because he can't control his reactions. He's just destroyed everything his mother owns for 2 hours, and yet he's practically jizzing from rage at the sight of someone wearing shorts and a top. This is the logic of a killer, Bella. Also, Madman was outside in the rain for 2 entire hours whilst he was trashing his house. It's giving despicable. Jesus Christ, she was drenched. I know he is too. I looked down again, knowing what I would do if I kept looking at her. Her wet shirt stuck to her body, but she tried to hide it by crossing her arms. Her legs glistened with water dripping down, and her shorts clung to her toned, wet thighs. Go take a shower. Has he ever looked at her in this story without trying to gratify his own lust? I tried looking at her again. Why? Who knows? Every time I saw her, I wanted to bury my heart and body inside of her. It is just lust. There's no heart about it. Unless there's a heart in his penis head. I don't think we've heard him say a single complimentary thing about Tate's personality. Like, what is it, apart from her spectacular tits, that he loves so much about her? Is it the way she sharpens those pencils, or her devotion to Bruce Willis? And that's when the wall went back up. My mother... This is quite a leap, isn't it, from the last sentence? Tate looking at me like I couldn't control myself, like I was weak. 2 hours destroying your own house would imply that you cannot, in fact, control yourself. Then the amount of time he spends ruminating on the weakness of himself and others suggests that he, in fact, is mentally and emotionally very weak. They argue over his whiskey bottle and she slaps him, which is the least he deserves, to be honest. I'm fine with that. So, I won't even call it reactive abuse. So he grabs her and lifts her onto the counter, so they both start thinking sexy things. No, I didn't get off on it, she answered way too calmly. I feel nothing. You are nothing to me. No, don't say that. I hadn't pushed her away completely. I still had her, didn't I? I could smell her sweet breath as she leaned in, her lips moist with hate and sex. Nothing, she repeated, taunting me, and it was instantly as hard as a rock. Now get off. I took her mouth, eating up her sweet little whimper. She was mine, and that was it. And I wanted to taste her everywhere. I went too fast, but I couldn't control myself. He prematurely ejaculated, didn't he? Jared doesn't prematurely ejaculate. He shoots first, like Han Solo. As I kissed her neck, she brought my face back up to her lips, and I reveled in how she responded. She wanted this as much as I did. Hell, yes. I knew I didn't deserve it. I knew she deserved more, but I was going to bury myself in this girl or spend my life trying. Knows he's not good enough, tries to bang anyway like an opportunistic vulture. Why do men?
It's morphin' time! Shut up, Jared!
Jared stopped. She pulled her head away from me, but I just kept going. Nope, you, me, and a bed. Now. I was about to carry her off when she yelled, Jared, I said stop, and she pushed me away. Jared, therapist? No. Jared, the rapist.
$1,000, but your ad says no money down.
Oh, they got this all screwed up. No, money down.
Nothing shocks me anymore. Nothing. All of these books are exactly the same. She runs off, which is the only sensible thing she's done so far. Chapter 20. They are at the loop and Maddox is listening to Pink. It was Friday night. It's Friday night. Your eyebrows are on fleek. That was a horrible Facebook video. I remember. Oof. Friday night, a long 2 days after my kiss with Tate, and we were at the loop getting set for Maddox's race against Liam. His was listening to chick music. His was. And I was trying not to laugh, but of course he's also that insecure that he can't listen to Pink. It would kill Jared to know that his entire personal playlist would now belong solely to 14-year-old girls, and his tastes are not, in fact, as dangerous as he once thought. Not that Pink wasn't hot as hell, but personally I need something louder when I got zoned in. Pink's attractiveness has zero relation to the volume of her music, you Neanderthal. Yeah, and it's weird. The only time you smile is when you're pulling the wings off of butterflies. Knew it. Called it earlier. She had punished me with that kiss, showing me what she could do to me, what we could do together. And that was just a taste. This is big talk for a guy who likes Missionary in the Dark with a hole cut through the bedsheet. Casey and I were still keeping up the pretense of a relationship, but while she wanted to piss off Liam, I didn't know what I was getting out of it. Yes, you do. To annoy Tate? You told us that was your core motivation? What? Are you so dumb you don't remember your own canon now? Hey man, Ben nodded at me. I wanted to make him bleed from his eyes. That's a sane thing to say. You could feel the tension like a blister ready to pop, and I was enjoying the hell out of it. I didn't care if Casey was comfortable, and I didn't want Ben or Tate to ease either. In no universe would I be okay with her seeing him. Or anyone. Probably. Is anyone else absolutely haunted by the way he relishes the unease of others? Dracula has more consideration for those around him. The air coming out my nose heated up. That's the second time Penelope has used that phrase, and it doesn't get better with time. And her outfit really pissed me off. She was wearing a short black schoolgirl skirt with a thin white shirt, probably a tank top, and a grey jacket over it. They watch the race and Jared stares at Tate the entire time. I realised a long time ago that Tate wasn't 14 anymore. Yes, Jared, that is how time works.
Now you can see the importance of time. It helps us make pizza. It keeps things in line.
Tate twisted around to see what happened, and the whole world stopped when she found my eyes instead. God, it's like that bit in The Boys when Homelander's watching the race, but Billy's just like staring at him the whole time. That's how she was different from other girls. I liked it when she looked at me. What an incredibly low bar for Tate to climb over. This book is already below any measurable bar for quality, but it would certainly also lose 100 points for actually using the phrase, not like other girls. Tate gives her jacket to Casey. Tate's white tank top was thin, tight, and I could see her nipples hardening against the night air. So Jared ogles her shamelessly, and her date Ben tries not to look. And if he kept staring at her like that, I was going to dig out his teeth with a spoon. Hypocrite. They laughed and talked, looking completely comfortable with each other. Really? Tate didn't want comfortable. She wanted to get pushed. She wanted someone's hands and mouth on her, driving her insane. She wanted to be made love to in the rain. And right now, she was trying to be someone she wasn't. What? What are you talking about? So Jared kisses Casey to make Tate jealous, and then he does the race. Chapter 21. Devon Peterson, one of the few hot girls I won't touch with a 10-foot pole, sauntered up in front of our cars in her short schoolgirl skirt and spaghetti strap shirt. She was a year behind me in school and had made it very obvious that she was available if I was interested. I wasn't. She was actually down to earth and nice, but she was nice to everyone. That was the problem. Sometimes you just had to know when a good time wasn't worth the risk. Every time I think I've heard it all, Jared then says some of the dumbest unrelated shit you've ever read. And there is no way that this girl could have slept with more people than Jared. He's way easier than her. Roman and I charged head to head, but the first turn was coming up. I had a slight gain, but well, he wasn't slowing down. Someday I was going to have to give this guy the beating he deserved. Jared sure does get triggered easily, doesn't he? I think he's meant to be macho, but it's coming across as snowflake. Shifting back in second and hitting the gas, I turned up Godsmack's I Stand Alone and took off. I thought my script editor, Rob, would enjoy that one. And he said, I'm in tears and you can tell your audience as much. It's like a 10-year-old's daydream. What's his license plate say on the race car? Damaged. All I can picture is him mean mugging the track ahead of him, thinking he's so awesome whilst the entire crowd cringes. The race ends and Jared is mad at Roman, so he starts dick swinging. His voice sounded like garbage cans slamming together. Firstly, that's not anything, and secondly, if anyone belongs among garbage cans long enough to recognise their unique sounds, it's Jared, the garbage man with the garbage plan. Hopefully he gets bitten by a rabid raccoon. I hope the next book is written from that raccoon's point of view. Man enough? I asked, making sure my twisted up face looked like that was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Spinning around to address the gathering crowd, I held up my hands. Man enough? They knew better, most of my classmates. And, as if on cue, Piper stepped out of the crowd and headed straight for me. The crowd didn't fight to contain their excitement when she glued her body to mine with her hand on my ass and kissed me slow and deep. It was like an invisible pair of arms pulling me back, trying to get me out of her grasp, and I had to remind myself to dive, not swim. I grabbed her and ran my hands down her sides, feeling the heat of her tongue touching mine. This was what I needed. Piper was easy. Again, this has nothing to do with anything. I refuse to believe that this is anything but the coma dream Jared has as his blood lies pooling about him after his sexy dad expressed his love for a particularly compelling right hook. Don't get mad at me for making fun of it. Get mad at this book for normalizing it. The whole thing reads like a daydream of someone who doesn't have agency in their own life. Somehow, him snogging Piper is putting Roman in his place. The race master, which great title, says it's a tie and their girlfriends have to race instead. So he asks Tate, who refuses at first. I could barely even look at her, and I kept my voice to a mumble. This was as close to begging to anyone as I'd come in over 3 years. No, she spat out. Spiteful little... I put my shoulders back, knowing she had every right not to help me, but her attitude still pissed me off. I can't believe that she won't help him after he refused to turn his music down after midnight when she had to be out for an appointment within a few hours. Does she even care about him at all? KC, Tate's teeth were bared. You don't speak for me and I'm not doing it. She yelled directly at me and heat pumped through me at her anger. It reminded me of the kitchen counter and I wanted her to shut up again, just like I'd done that night. So Jared calls her a bitch because he's very mature. Maddox then guilt trips Tate into doing it. Another fine moment for the woman's refusal to be ignored and peer pressure making her look like the selfish one. A horrifying lesson for all the young readers to learn. He has to say please, she spoke to everyone else but me. I shook my head and laughed myself. God, she was a handful. Every time Jared talks, a healthy relationship dies. The picture of her sitting in my seat with her hands on my wheel was too much. I shifted, my dick unable to control itself. Hope a forensic team never looks at his car seat. She was beautiful, and it was the worst moment of my life to want something so badly and know I wasn't going to get it. Yeah, she's not a thing to get, and don't complain about your traumatic backstory if this is the worst moment of your life then. Jared likens Tate reversing his car to watching porn. Maybe that's an insight to what kind of porn he watches. He's like that what's it called? TLC? Ah! TLC? This table is glass, could smash that. It's like that, what, the TLC thing where it's the guy who like makes love to his car. Smiling in my presence. Again, a weight descended to my shoulders. I felt bad for everything I'd done to her, and to me. Couldn't go one sentence without making it about himself. Tate reached out and touched the fossil necklace. Her necklace meant for her mother that I had stolen and kept all these years. This is just hilariously awful, isn't it? Her eyes watched the road like it was her prey, and her fingers worked the stick shift hard and fast. I watched her muscle handle my muscle, and I shook my head. Porn. The inherent eroticism of seeing items stolen from your mother's grave in the car of your abuser. Also, who is allowing untrained drivers to race powerful cars to decide a race? What pocket universe is this? Tate is winning the race, but not in a way that Jared approves of. She was trying not to laugh, and I couldn't take my eyes off of her full pursed lips, and I knew right there and then that I was going to wipe that smug little grin off her face. I wanted Tate, panting and helpless as I buried myself inside of her. No jokes, no sarcasm, no words, just me in her eyes. She wins, chapter 22. So are you two friends yet? A very drunk Maddox hooked his arm around my neck at the bonfire after the race. I knew who he was talking about. Everyone knows who he is talking about. The illiterate know who he's talking about. Stop wasting page space with the obvious. I was bound and determined to get that necklace back. I had to see my father tomorrow. Of course, Jared's needs supersedes Tate's. Why not go to Tate's mum's grave and just chip a piece off the headstone instead? Sure, it's not Tate's property like the necklace was, but at least then she'll know how serious you are about banging her, loving her. You see all those guys? Ooh. I'm going to put some sausages in the air fryer with some fries. I'm going to have sausage and fries for my dinner. Like fresh from my house. Sorry, I was just thinking about sausages. Unrelated to this. Or is it? Maybe I have phallic symbolism on the brain. Richmond vegan sausages, of course. Now that's my night made. my night made by a tiny little sausage. You see all those guys? He jerked his chin and waved his hand to the group that Tate and Ben were chatting with. They all want to put their hands up her skirt. You know that, right? Shut up, Maddox. Go bang your stepsister. The only male in town who won't commit SA is Tate's date, and he's boring. Piper appears to proposition Jared. You see that girl over there? She pointed across the bonfire to a redhead in a short black shorts and a fitted tank. What about her? I asked, not sure where this was going. How about you, me, and her go back to your house? What? I blinked, not sure if I'd heard her right. Did she just offer? I've already worked it out. She's game. We can all play. Or, she lowered her voice, you can watch. Yeah, right. Dream on Jared. Didn't happen. R/that happened. Didn't happen of the year awards. A threesome was something I hadn't done yet, and what guy wouldn't want that? Loads, actually, just like how loads of women do want to try threesomes, yet it's always seen as the ultimate guy wet dream. Probably because men are allowed to have many lovers and women must not. He declines, and I suppose we're meant to clap or something. Heroic, turning down the threesome in order to yell at the girl he victimizes. Enough, I mumbled, and I went in search of Tate. I didn't care if she was Ben's date. She was leaving with me. Not at all serial killer-esque. Tate disappeared, so Jared finds her and Nate, who had attempted to attack Tate but got kicked in the nuts. I slipped off my shirt and tossed it at her. Put this on, I ordered. Now. She didn't rush to obey. Not that I expected her to. My temper was up, and God help her if she didn't do what she was told. I never do what I'm told. Jared. Why won't you do as you're told? Also Jared. Alone, in the woods, in the dark, I wanted to throttle her for being so careless. I picked the bear. Jared starts beating Nate up for trying to assault Tate because nobody ignores her boundaries but me. Do you understand? He was bad news, but I wasn't. I kept telling myself there was a difference between Nate and me. Nate had touched her. I'd never done that. He'd sexually harassed her. My locker room thing was just to mess with her. She told him to time after time to stop. I'd seen her cry, wanted me to stop. The more I hit Nate, the more I didn't see his face anymore, but my own. It's the same picture, office meme. He has consciously chosen to hurt her so many times that this piss-weak attempt at character growth does nothing. It's steeped in macho cringe fantasy of beating up an actual rapist, ignoring everything in the story where Jared and every other man ignores the boundaries of Tate and women in general, which is how actual assaults begin in the real world. This cartoonish fight is more daydreaming from a LARPer who fantasizes about beating up muggers and rapists but doesn't have the courage to counter his friends when they behave inappropriately. Yes, applaud me. That was all me. Applaud me. I looked over to Tate, whose eyes looked scared, and chest rose and fell in fear. A fear she didn't have when I first found her here. Why doesn't he mention how good her chest looks when she's afraid? Can't he smell her skin? Or is it only hot when he's chosen to cause her terror? Your ride, I turned to look at her, is drunk. Now, unless you'd like to wake up your poor grandmother to come out in the middle of nowhere to get you after your date gets drunk and you almost get raped, which I'm sure will do wonders for your father, trusting you to be alone, by the way, then you'll get in the goddamn car, Tate. Berating the near victim of a sexual assault. Charming. This is someone he supposedly loves more than anyone in the world, and he can't even express concern for her without making it about himself. Anyway, I'm sure he'll at least drive her home safely. Chapter 23. My problem? I was pissed and she could tell. You come to the bonfire of that idiot Ben Jameson, who can't stay sober enough to get you home, and then you traipse off into the woods in the dark and get groped by Dietrich. Maybe you're the one with the problem. Reel it in, asshole. When I thought about what Nate would have done to her, I wanted to kill. Tate was too headstrong, too independent. She misjudged her own capabilities and put herself in danger. Too and independent, by the way, makes my blood run cold. What Jared's really trying to say is if Tate was a good little girl who stayed at home in the kitchen, none of this would have happened to her because men can't help themselves. They can't help being rapey. It's their biology. It's not their fault. What were you wearing, slut? How many people did you sleep with? There's going to be situations you can't handle, Tate. I was trying to reason with her, but even I didn't know where I was going with this. Good one. She couldn't exist in the closed box I'd created for her for the rest of her life, and I couldn't protect her from everything. Is he trying to reframe his bullying as protecting her? And I love this unilateral thinking. Like, he's living in this entire relationship without realizing nobody else knows what's going on or what he's decided for her. He's a lunatic. He's just a fucking mental. He's just insane. She overestimated herself. Some guys didn't care about victimizing women. My brainworms are getting restless. He turns off his headlights. He turns off his headlights and drives recklessly to teach her a lesson. The absolute psychopathy of driving recklessly to frighten someone who's nearly been sexually assaulted. Again, someone he supposedly loves. I'm 100% convinced he'd be more upset about someone else touching her body before him than the actual trauma caused to her because she only exists to make him feel better about himself. And that line of thinking 100% exists, by the way. Like, boyfriend, don't listen to this next bit. I really once had someone that I was dating, like, say to me that if I ever got raped, they would feel uncomfortable about having, I don't even know how that hypothetical scenario came up, whatever. It was really eye-opening though. Like maybe they just randomly said it. They said that like if that ever happened to me, they would feel uncomfortable about having sex with me. Because you know, another guy's been in there. What? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's make it about you. Like, crazy. Probably came up because I told him about like some, you know, assault that had happened or like something like that. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Anyway, so that line of thinking, so I could so see that being the reason why Jared actually would get upset if Nate had, you know, managed to actually assault her properly. Anyway, they exist and they live among us and they can vote. Tate opened her door and flew out of her seat, and so did I, ready to go after her if she decided walking home was a smart idea. It's smarter than being in a car with you. I choose the bear to drive the car. I would never put you in danger. Ha! She was beautiful. Strands of hair fell across her eyes and small pieces blew around her face from either the wind or her heavy breathing. How heavy is she breathing? Is she okay, babe? Seeing the angry passion on her face built me up the same way bullying her had done. And when I thought of how I could have had all of this by simply being close to her rather than hurting her, I was planted, no, stuck to the ground by the weight of wasted time. He is as stupid as he is ugly. And also, come on, Jared. No, little buddy, don't second guess yourself. Being kind is lame. It's not manly. So maybe set her front door on fire or piss on her mum's grave. Not only would you make Tate mad, but by canine law, you'd also own the grave. Tate starts throwing his keys away. Jesus, the key was gone, and maybe the one to my car, maybe just the house key. And F me if it was the one to the school. Why does he have a key to the school? Have I missed something? Why was I so mean? Why did I isolate you? Why did I ruin our friendship? Which horrible shit did she want to explain first? Freshman year, I took a deep breath and started. I overheard Danny Stewart saying he was going to ask you to the Halloween dance. I made sure he never did, because he also told his buddies that he couldn't wait to find out if your tits were more than a handful each. I didn't even think twice about my actions. I continued as she remained silent. I spread that rumor about Steve with Stoddard because you didn't belong with Danny. He was a dick. They all were. Oh, and you're Prince Charming. If I was protecting her, then I wouldn't have turned around and hurt her myself with that rumor. It wasn't about keeping her safe. It was about not wanting anyone else to touch her. AKA keep her virginal? Keep her a virgin just for him whilst he shagged about. What a freak. By bullying me, she challenged. That makes no sense. Why didn't you come talk to me? I couldn't. I can't. I couldn't trust you. For the 100th time, Tate did nothing wrong. You're the one she can't trust. My father wasn't in my life, and Tate and I connected instantly. We had things like music and movies in common. Music and movies? Well, excuse me. I didn't realize this connection ran so deep. Soulmates joined over their love of Die Hard and Godsmack. I take back everything I've ever said. She wanted my lips on hers, but she might not like that she wanted it. Please don't stop me. Circling my arms around her body, I pulled her, struggling, into my chest. Damn it, I'd explained. I knew she wouldn't forgive me right away, but why was she still so upset? What more did she want? Maybe she wants the last 4 years of her life back, you weirdo. He apologizes to her as if that's enough, and she storms off. Digging my feet into the ground, I took off after her, spun her around and threw her over my shoulder like I wanted to do earlier. She landed hard, her stomach caving to my shoulder, and I had a huge desire to keep her there and walk her home. Flip the car. Well, almost. Put me down, she kicked her feet and punched my back, and I tightened my hold, willing my fingers to stay put. Her ass was next to my head, and god damn it, I wanted to take advantage of her position in her short skirt. This book is giving me grey hairs. Remember when we thought Nate was a creep? I knew I should just back off, give her time, win back her trust, but I'd had a taste of her, and I'd rather give up breathing. I still made the rules, and we weren't wasting any more time. Okay, sex offender, I miss Nate. I promise, not unless you ask. Having her feeling sorry the next day that she gave in to me would suck. Gave in to me as well. You don't want, like, if you think sex with someone is going to be framed as, like, they gave in to me or I gave in to them, like, maybe you're not that, maybe just don't. It doesn't sound the best, does it? I didn't want that blame. She was going to be part of this as much as me, and I wanted her crazed and confused over me. Then I wanted her to surrender. I guess that's what I'd been after all along. I read this and sighed aloud. He asks her if he can kiss her and she rejects him. Stay away from me, she said as she headed for the passenger side. Yeah, no. Remember, ladies, it's only sexual assault if they violently lay their hands on you and if they're ugly. No amount of cross boundaries or refusals will count in a court of law. Chapter 24. Jared goes to see his dad, and his dad either doesn't know or more probably doesn't care that it's Jared's birthday. To be fair to Jared's dad, I don't care either. But every week, I got sick before I came to prison, and my high from the last night was now gone. The dreadful anticipation of whatever lousy shit my father was going to say to me made me nauseous, and I could never eat anything in the mornings. Most of the time, my hands shook so badly that driving was hard. He's almost realizing how it feels to be bullied. Driving was hard, but not the way he was hard driving when thinking about Tate, who definitely doesn't experience any physical effects of being tormented daily. The only thing that got me through the visits week after week without throwing up was the necklace, and I hadn't gotten that back last night. Over-reliance on jewellery isn't very masculine of you, Jared. Right now, though, my insides were caked with acid and burning a trail up my throat. It hurt, and I kept swallowing it down. It just sounds like acid reflux, mate. Take some Gaviscon. You'll be all right. You think I'm an arsehole. My father put another card down and spoke quietly. I am an arsehole, Jared. I've made you hard. But I've also made you strong. No one will ever hurt you again because you're untouchable. Even to that girl. You're out of reach. This is the exact same logic both Tate and Jared use at the end of Bully. And I think, at the end of this book as well. To justify his behaviour towards her. But when his dad says it, it's bad. And she'll find someone to marry her and fill her with babies that aren't yours. Fill her with babies is insane imagery, popping them babies back in like a reverse Pez dispenser. At the thought of this, Jared punches his dad, who just laughs at him and his presumably small penis.
Fat chicks get so fucking hungry.
Don't worry, Jared, my father yelled behind me. We won't stay far away from each other. I'll always be in your head. His father just hit him with a I'm living in your head rent-free, based, red-pilled, iconic. As soon as I got home from the visit, I found my mum in the kitchen with cake. No way, I'm not in the mood. He can't possibly put in an effort to repair his relationship with his mother because then he'd have one less thing to complain about. His mother then says she wants Jax to come live with them and is trying to make it happen. Her eyes dropped and her lips turned up with a thoughtful smile. Yes, I like Jackson. And then she looked up at me again. He brings out the best in you, Jared, just like Tate used to. Ah yes, because others only have value if they somehow positively affect this loser. It was expensive, but she didn't seem to care. That was one issue I never pushed, even though it confused me. She worked in an accounting firm, earned enough to support us, but not enough for what we had. Our house was paid for, and I always had the best cell phone, so she had a nice car. Paid for. To be honest, I was afraid to ask. I didn't want to know how we lived so well. This is a random thing to inject 56% of the way through the book. And why do I feel like he's going to bitch about his mum making an effort for his birthday and for trying to rescue his abused brother? Everything I know about Jared points towards him making a problem out of even positive events. I got a text from JC saying she hoped we were friends and that she offered a thank you for the help with her dipshit boyfriend. He'll be cheating again in a month. They always do. But I didn't tell her that. Heartbreaking. The worst person you know just made a good point. She also let it slip in a not so subtle way that Tate was on her own now. Her visiting grandma had left town. My lips turned up. Which is also a recurring phrase and I don't like it. And I was about to stalk over there and pick another fight with Tate when I got a text. If Jared did what he actually wanted and finally killed Tate for, kissing another boy when she was 14, would KC be an accessory towards murder? Would that make this a better book? A teenager dying, but the meta-narrative finally recognizing that Jared is a danger to women. Does the Pope shit in the woods? Do we all agree to choose the bear? He's literally smiling at the thought of stalking over and picking a fight, but poor little him for feeling sick when he sees his dad. I hope he gets hit by the milkman, is dragged slowly around the entire route, killed by the erosion like the finest possible grade of sandpaper. Wow. Everything good? Tate's dad. Fine, I typed back. You got the house key back to Tate, right? Yes, I lied. Her dad has done so much for him, and he's lying to him. Of course. Thanks. Happy 18. Presents should be arriving soon. Thanks, I typed back, not good at being gracious. Tate's birthday is in a week. Find out what she wants, he ordered. I let out a sigh. That might be difficult, I texted. He shot back not 30 seconds later. A man? ... And I punched the bed with my fist. ... Takes care of his business. I reluctantly finished. The dual relationship he has with Tate's dad makes me feel ill. Now I'm feeling ill. Everything about it reeks of dysfunction. I didn't know why that comment about Tate having another man's babies got me so angry. My father had accomplished what he'd set out to do and I'd fallen for it again. I couldn't think of myself as a father, now or any time in the future. But one thing was for certain. Whether it was now or 10 years from now, I didn't want Tate having anyone else's kids. I'm worried he might try to sterilize her against her will and then cry about the consequences and how hard everyone is being on him. Like, this just in, man fails to commit, but is furious others might. Chapter 25. Jared breaks into Tate's empty house under the guise of finding her a good birthday present idea. Check the history on her laptop, sift through her journal, maybe look through the drawers for open boxes of condoms. This would be funny if it wasn't nightmare fuel. How does every chapter of this book get worse than the last? I want to peel off my own skin. I sucked in a long breath before I entered her room. Not sure why. All I knew was that I felt turned on and perverted all at the same time. He's gonna sniff her underwear, isn't he? I wasn't a pussy. I had the guts to sneak through someone's shit. I'm not sure if guts have anything to do with it. Also, not Jared being a hypocrite, shitting his pants if people discuss him, but boldly breaking into a young woman's private space. Where's J.K. Rowling when you actually need her? Her computer history might reveal exactly what I needed, or it may show me shit I didn't need to know. She could be Googling face creams and designer umbrellas, or she could be emailing some jerk she met in France or admissions officers for colleges far away. And you know he'd use that as an excuse to torment her if so. Jared finds a book called Leaves of Grass that Tate supposedly always has with her. I'm pretty sure it's not mentioned at all in Bully and thus shoehorned in, but that first book is just a miserable haze to me now, so I could actually be wrong. But Tate keeps pictures of her and Jared inside this book. Again, not sure if this is ever mentioned in the first book, but it's a direct parallel to Tate finding pictures of her and Jared in Jared's room when she breaks in, because my god, even in a retelling, the author cannot have an ounce of originality. And good God, I had to read this next page in full because the sentence by sentence whiplash is so bad that I'm taking it to a small claims court.
Call us right now. You may be entitled to substantial compensation.
She kept pictures of us like I kept pictures of us, and I smiled, feeling like I just won something. And then the tiptoeing through the fucking tulips feeling that I enjoyed crashed to the ground as soon as I spied a black lace bra lying across her dresser. The tingling sensation of someone roller skating across my heart moved south, and now I wanted to leave here in search of her. My jaw moved, and I almost bit my tongue to keep my dick in check. Well. Tate wore lingerie. Her sleek body, dressed in black lace, blanketed my brain, and then I blinked. Wait. Realization dawned. Tate wore lingerie. Tate wore lingerie. What the hell for? And who for? I ran a rough hand through my hair and felt the sweat on my forehead. Let her dad give her some birthday money. That's what every teenager wants for their birthday, isn't it? Is this the 5 stages of being an insufferable twit? Jared would never wear clothes that makes him feel good or desirable. His pristine collection of Godsmack t-shirts is entirely functional. And this could be funny if it wasn't so exhausting. Jared's inability to accept any behavior unless it serves him is the most consistent thing in this book. The one-way street of his relationships must exhaust everyone around him. Oh, but I'm forgetting, Jared is hot and special, so of course they just love him. They aren't tired of him. He stomps off to school after this little session of shadow boxing. My morning classes passed in a fog. I either sat there with my arms crossed and my eyes to the desktop, ignoring those around me. By 4th period, I gripped my desk, chair, or anything else to keep my ass from soaring into her French class and picking a fight. This is all over discovering she wears nice bras after breaking into her bedroom. God forbid a woman has nice underwear for themselves. No, it always has to be for the male gaze. Women love a man who actively seethes with rage over decisions that aren't about them at all. Teachers didn't call on me, so I didn't have to worry about paying attention. My grades stayed up and I smarted off when they did ask me questions. There's always just no fucking way that a guy who consistently goofs off, parties, drinks, never studies, never concentrates in school has good grades. It would be more realistic if he was failing school like the loser he is, because the only other option we have is that he's a super genius. That's the only way we can explain this, which we know he isn't because we have his POV. And it's a small gripe in the grand scheme of things, but these authors need to realize they cannot have it both ways. He can't be this complete bad boy who also graduates with top marks. Look, Jess from Gilmore Girls was meant to be a quintessential bad boy and he drops out of school, but he is also actually canonically a literary genius and makes something of himself later on and becomes a successful author. Jared has absolutely nothing of that going for him though. Jared spies Maddox asking Tate to homecoming. She mumbles something to him I couldn't hear and then he shouted, "But the baby needs a father." What? My stomach dropped and everything in the room turned red. This is so obviously done to connect Jared's fears about not being the dad of Tate's babies, but it's stupid because we, Jared included, know that Maddox is joking around and trying to neg Tate into going out with him for a laugh. So the whole previous chapter of Jared's dad randomly saying, "Lol, that girl will never have babies with you," which is crazy in of itself, by the way, because these teens are literally 17, has been shoehorned in to fit the original source material. Basically, all of this is plot device driven and none of this is organic. She says yes and Jared gets mad, but what else is new?
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Ugh. Guys, I watched Deadpool 3. I just come back from the cinema and my makeup is still pretty fresh, so I thought, why not film? It's only 11:30 at night. Who cares, right? You know how I feel about Deadpool. You know how I feel about Ryan Reynolds. But of course, my boyfriend wanted to see it. And of course, I'm the dutiful, wonderful girlfriend who he now owes big time. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. It was just fun. It was just nice and fun. And maybe I needed that. Maybe I just needed to chill the fuck out for a moment. I enjoyed it. So it's not over between me and Ryan Reynolds. Not by a long shot. He's still like... gave me the ick at like some points. He was like, I'm hungry. And I was like, oh, you're like 46, stop. Grow up. Be a man. Like Pedro Pascal. But what am I talking about? Let's just get on with it. But you know what? We're okay for the time being. He's not my arch nemesis this week. Chapter 25. Someone see what Joe Rogan's up to. If he says something dumb about aliens again, he can fill in as my arch nemesis. I have like a rolling, like a Rolodex. I don't know what that is. It's just an American thing, innit? I have like a rolling list of arch nemesises. They could all just take a little shift. Chapter 25. Now, fun fact about chapter 25. Chapter 25 appears twice in the ebook. The formatter had one job and couldn't be asked. I don't even blame them. Jared punches Maddox. He wanted me to act, to grovel at Tate's feet and make her want me. Make her want me is crazy. But she'd said yes. That pissed me off too. Not even thinking to ask her to the dance myself pissed myself off. What? I hated dances. I hated dancing. Oh my God. Same. But thanks to me, Tate didn't go to things like that in the past, and she obviously wanted to. A bitter taste settled in my mouth. They should get me to be in Deadpool 4. It's the taste you get right before you choke down a mouthful of pride. Stream of consciousness garbage. Do me a favor. Next time, just directly carve out my frontal lobe with an ice cream scooper and save me from reading such dribble. Just scoop it out like someone's scooping slime ASMR. Give me the full homemade lobotomy deal. Tate is now in this situation where she can no longer identify healthy choices or behavior. She's constantly victimized by this horror villain, and her dad apparently doesn't give too much of a shit to ever check in with her or see how she's feeling. So now her choices are between Maddox the Sluck or Godshat, because that other guy, the boring handsome one, simply doesn't destabilize her emotionally like she thinks is normal. Jared finds out that Tate is working in the chem lab and not the cool Fallout New Vegas type. Alone? My jaw twitched with a pent-up smile. No problem. Things a serial killer says, volume 8. I like the tables. They were a good height. I half laughed, half sighed at the images floating through my head. Jesus Christ. I'd never fantasized about a... God, I've got like a prayer stuck in my head. It's so annoying. I'd never fantasized about a girl the way I did with Tate. But I was getting ahead of myself. She may never let me... Stop! She may never let me get to second base again, let alone third. I'm still waiting to hear what, besides her body, he actually likes about her. And let's not pretend that Jared knows what to do at third base. Don't make me laugh. Her legs stilled and she looked surprised, unnerved, and a little pissed. We had the same effect on each other. She, unlike you, has reasons to be mad. It was a lie, but I guess I could help her. I knew my shit in chemistry as well as math. It was the touchy-feely subjects like English and psychology that bit my ass. The psychopath doesn't like psychology. Is this irony?
Now that is irony!
In English... Expressing yourself through language is lame unless you're cry driving to Godsmack with a rage boner breaking the zip on your jeans. Is him knowing his shit in chemistry foreshadowing for his future career as a drug dealer? Her eyes met mine. And for a moment... This is killing me, it's just in my head. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment I thought she'd let me plant her ass... God's sake, on the counter and let me show her how a sleepover between us would work. We get it. You like sad vanilla sex. Now, was this necessary? Jared moves like a snail or a slug sliding on a trail of his own ejaculate. Prove me wrong. You know, maybe too much damage has been done. I know you've apologized, but it's not so easy for me. This was not the Tate I knew. Tate was tough. Even when I'd made her cry over the years on my pranks, she held her head high and moved on. Tate didn't need grand gestures. Did she? You're not getting girly on me, are you? I was trying at sarcasm, but I wanted a miracle. Yes, Jared. Thank you for apologizing, and I forgive you. Let's move on. That's what I really wanted. Man thinks he's entitled to a woman. More news at 7. Jared, the world's foremost fallen angel. Women want him, men want to be him. Nobody can beat him in a fight for reasons. Chooses to make a young woman cry again and again, knowingly. Never reflects on this. Accuses someone for being girly. Make it make sense, because my brain bleed is only getting worse and the worms up there can only plug so many leaks. My fingers were humming and I balled up my fist to try to erase the urge to touch her. Even before I met Tate, my relationship with my mother, oh God, was broken. I roamed, left to stick up for myself or my mum on the few occasions one of her asshole drinking buddies got rough. Not that I could throw much weight around at that age, but I tried. Sure you did, buddy. Sure. It is nice he thinks of his mum sometimes, even if he does have a confusing, abuse-inspired erection whilst doing so. Tate accidentally breaks a beaker. I make you nervous, I said regretfully, looking at the shattered glass on the floor. Well, as long as he regrets turning her into a quivering mess, I suppose it's fine. I was finally seeing how I had twisted her up. I was playing her, even though I didn't mean to. I thought I hated her, so I pushed her. Now I wanted her, and it was pulling me back in. Maybe I just need to get out of my system. No, it's fine. Time and again, it was about me and never her. He has an epiphany that other people's feelings exist, but it's 200 plus pages too late in my eyes. This entire book has just been about him and his boring sob story. And there isn't enough time in the day to pull up all of the screenshots of all of the times he deliberately meant to psychologically damage her. I moved my lips closer, never taking my eyes from hers, as I waited for her to push me away. As the seconds ticked by, I finally snatched up her mouth before I let her have any more time to reconsider. I can't be asked to explain why this is icky. Can't be asked. They snog. God damn, her soft body rubbed against mine, the softest moan coming out of her mouth and my fists tightened in her hair. I was about to lose it. She had the power, always had, and always would. Always had the power. What, even when you were relentlessly tormenting her? You don't get to rewrite history, bucko.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
She moved her hips up against mine. I'm in a good mood, guys. I'm in a good mood. Thank God. It's bound to happen eventually. I'm in a good mood. Let's see how quickly my good mood is ruined by this. She moved her hips up against mine, and I ran my hands down her sides and around to her perfect rounded ass, grabbing it in my hands. Do you know what? No, I'm fed up of not living out my true potential, of not writing and doing all the stories and getting films made of my stories. And I could write one of these books so easily, so quickly. I just don't, because of this little thing called a conscience, dignity, feminism. I'm just going to do it. I've had enough of just not being rich by not debasing my intelligence. Me stumbling on the word intelligence. Irony. Not debasing myself by writing this rubbish, boring rubbish. I'm gonna do it. Kind of can't be arsed though. Grabbing it in my hands, I jerked her into me. Mine.
Mine.
The wet heat of her mouth and the curve of her breasts against my chest got my aching for release, the high school student said. God, these underage teens are so sexy, said Penelope while writing this and publishing it. I wondered if she was a virgin. Why am I laughing at that? I'm so stupid. Like a virgin touched for the very first time. And my neck broke out in a sweat at the thought of anyone else kissing her like this. Insane nerve coming from someone who sleeps with someone new every single weekend. It's nice that he's still judging her even in the middle of an intimate moment. Tradition is tradition after all, I guess. Chapter 26. Tate breaks off the kiss. Her body wanted it, but she didn't. Of course the quasi-sex offender would say this.
Shut up, Jared.
You didn't think it was going to be this easy, did you? Yes, I lied. I was hoping we could move forward without looking back. I knew it was too much to expect, but I let myself hope that Tate would see the bigger picture. That with all the anger and damage, with all the distance and misunderstanding, we still fit. The bigger picture. Get a life. Anger and damage and misunderstanding. Please, please, please. What's that song? What's her face? Regardless, please ignore the last 3 years of your life where I've directly set out to hurt you. Why can't you ignore it? Don't you see how much you're hurting me? Stepping up behind her, I breathed her in. God. The top of her head fell just below my chin, and her whole torso, arms included, fit the width of my chest. She fit. Oh, okay, forget I said anything. This is fine. You know that internet story about the lady with the pet python and how it lay next to her in bed one night, measuring her against itself to see if it could eat her? What do you mean? Why am I bringing this up? No reason. Piper interrupts them, and I'm actually going to punch myself. Am I? Why? What have I done? Tate wasn't looking at me, or either of us, and my stomach hollowed like the night I saw some other guy giving her first kiss. Get a life. Who gets therapy first, Jared or Bruce Wayne after seeing his parents get shot? I wish I had a hard copy of this book so I could ram it into the edge of my eye. Oh Jesus, she was talking to Tate. You didn't go and give your homecoming date a black eye, did you? He can barely see. You should really stop beating up on guys or people will start thinking you're a catty girls, said the man who went on a years-long hate campaign because Tate kissed a different boy one time when she was 14 years ago. Also, didn't Jared punch Maddox the slut like a chapter ago? I ignored the question as we walked out. I never explained myself. Wow, this is not looking back at explosions level of cool. This is like he's got a chair, he's flipped it that way so like the back is to the front and he's sitting like this, like squatting. He's just pulled up a chair and he's like, you see? He never explains himself, but so help you God if you own underwear he does not approve of. Chapter 27. Thanks for the gift, I texted Tate's dad. The huge toolbox he'd given me was used, but easily would have cost $15,000 new. Without it being in mint condition, it still would have cost a pretty penny. Maybe I should bully someone so I can get out of my overdraft. So with the depreciated value, we're still looking at somewhere between like $3,500 to $7,000. I know he's turning 18, but who is spending this amount of money on their child's friend, or even their friend's child? Especially because this is a very expensive practical joke by Tate's dad, where he's using code to tell Jared he's a massive tool and he should get in the box. You're welcome. Sorry it's late. Anything on Tate? He asked. The first thing I thought about was the black lingerie I'd seen in her room. My dick instantly sprang into action when I thought about what she had looked like wearing that for me. I drank like a litre of Coca-Cola. Maybe that's why I'm in a good mood. A little weird to be texting the father of the girl I presently had a hard-on for. I hadn't been laid in over a month, and the only girl I wanted wasn't giving me the time of day. And the worst part? I'd had more hard-ons lately than in my entire life. Penelope, I do not need to be hearing this much about some teenager's boner. It's becoming clear that Jared can be manipulated like a Russian sleeper agent. All you need to know are the right words and he'll do whatever you say. Ass, lace, moist, bra, dodecahedron, titties. He's like a really shit, pervy Winter Soldier. Tate appears in Jared's room and they make out. And I thought that Winter Soldier reference. Me. Not the comic book fan who's been writing the jokes in my script. Lifting her up. Oh yeah, she appears in his room and they make out. Huh? Oh yeah, right, okay. Lifting her up, I carried her to the bed as she wrapped her legs around me. It was a great feeling, having Tate hold fast to me. You care to elaborate on that great feeling? No? Fine. I suppose Jared can only really articulate sensations relating to his boner, not his emotions. Her lips always tasted sweet, like fruit. Her body, on the other hand, tasted wild and raw, and I had a vision of rain falling across her naked chest while I made love to her on the hood of my car. I do not even know where to begin with this. I cannot believe the emotionally stunted little sex goblin can only relate to music through cliched 80s music video imagery. I cannot believe it. My brain was in overdrive. I wanted to rush in because the itch in my head told me we were on borrowed time. The logical Tate, the normal Tate, was going to stop me any second. There is something vaguely predatory about being this self-aware, isn't there? Jared, the master of the quick finish before they can sober up. I looked up, calm and amused, to see her wide-eyed, surprised look, and I knew no one had touched her like that. What are you doing? She asked, confused. I almost laughed. Happiness spread like tingles across my cheeks. Which cheeks? And it was a struggle to keep a straight face. You're a virgin, I stated, almost to myself. She didn't say anything, only looked a little nervous, but excited as I dipped my head again and returned my attention to kissing her in her thighs. You have no idea how happy that makes me, I murmured and moved my back on her. Absolute freak show. Tate, the lace bra-wearing supermodel, doesn't know what oral sex is. Bless her. Either she has to remain this pure in order to not alienate the readership, who at this point amaze me with their ability to read, assuming they aren't listening to Penelope narrate it breathlessly as they struggle to contain their own arousal over the underage sex, or the American school system really is conspiring to keep students clueless in order to make grooming of the young easier for senators. Wow. Well, I guess I'm not going to Vegas, am I? And you will never see this the other way around in romance. Penelope is trying to tell us that because Tate kissed another boy when she was 14, Jared had to sleep with dozens, if not hundreds, somehow, of other women because he was mad with jealousy, whilst Tate stayed good and virginal for him. Imagine how a romance book would be received if the woman had been promiscuous and got excited by the bloke being a virgin. She'd be called a used up whore, and we all know it. There's a very graphic oral sex scene that goes on for pages, then they get interrupted by Jared's mates about the race. I patted her thigh and walked towards the door, and after the race, I turned to look at her. We'll come back here and finish this. It wasn't a request. Lol. Chapter 28, they go to the loop together. I'd always showed up to these things alone. You'll always be alone because you know that's better. Girls liked public displays, hand-holding, hugs, cutesy shit I didn't do, and while I would happily get territorial in private, I didn't like giving the impression that I cared about anything in front of other people. I can't believe I've been wasting my time with this book when I could be playing Fallout instead. Good grief. Okay, let's be real. I first started filming this like a month ago, and then I took a month off just to play Fallout. Plus, Jared is literally the biggest child I've ever seen in literature. Christian Grey is a god of emotional intelligence beside him. Holding hands is cutesy. I don't care about anything. Where? Tate goes and stands next to Ben, so Jared gets jealous. They hadn't gotten physically close. They weren't even facing each other, but she was smiling. He was making her laugh, and my eyes narrowed on her like she needed a big fat reminder of whose mouth had been on her less than an hour ago. I'm glad someone makes her laugh because Jared sure doesn't. Turning my iPod to Godsmack's I Stand Alone. Poetic, I thought. Jared, I have some poetry for you, and I used only the words that make me think of you. My name is Jared, and my heart is arid. My story's real sad, and it makes me feel bad, because I want to bang Tate, a girl who I hate, to impress my dad. No, seriously, Jared, I want you to stand there while I enumerate at length just how much of a self-pitying dweeb I think you are. Don't look at them, Jared. Look at me.
Look at me.
Ashley! Look at me.
Anyway, a wild Piper appears. Piper wasn't a chore to look at, and she knew it. It's a chore reading this. When you finish with that blonde, you know where to find me. My bemused gaze stayed forward, off Piper. If I finish with her, that is. You will. Her voice was playful and cocky. Good girls taste like shit after a while. What? Tate drags Piper away and it turns Jared on because he is that predictable and dull, and then they do the race, blah blah blah. Jared is thrilled to be with Tate for all of 5 seconds. Jack's in a foster home and his mother some barely legal teenager that our father had preyed upon. My mother too, for that matter. What would she think? The beatings, the basement, my betrayal, leaving Jax behind. The bile crept up my throat and I could barely swallow it down, much less tell her the whole disgusting story. Just out of town. I kept my reply short and simple. But where? What does it matter? My bite wasn't a cover. She needed to shut up. Damn woman needs to shut her trap and get me another beer. Push her down or push her away, I told myself. I think we've moved beyond friends, Tate. I sneered with a sour smile. But if you want to play that game, then fine. We can have a sleepover. But there will be banging involved. I was going to get the skin I peeled off dry cleaned, but actually I don't even want it back. Chapter 29. Driving helped clear my head, which was now a mess again because of Tate. I wasn't running. I was detaching. Your head is a mess because you refuse to get court-ordered therapy. He chooses to endanger other road users instead. It's the Sigma male option. I could have been gentler about it, I guess, but she kept prying into shit that wasn't her business. I strangled the shit out of the steering wheel. Not a danger to other women. Not a danger to women at all. He drives to a pond to have flashbacks about Tate. I'm going to scream. I can't wait for Jared to get back. I hear Tate smile in her voice, and I cover my mouth to choke back the cry creeping up my chest. I want to go to her, but I can't make a move with everyone around. I don't want to see my mother, and I don't want Mr. Brandt to see me like this, dirty and bruised. I just want to grab Tate's hand and run. You can show him the moves you and Will learned at karate this summer, Mr. Brandt says, and I stop breathing. The sob held hostage in my throat turns into a fire in my belly. Will? Geary? My eyes shift left to right, like I'm searching for an explanation, but I can't find one. She was still seeing him? Well, it's nice that you had someone to spend time with while Jared was gone. My mother pops the top on a Coke. And I think the distance is a good thing. You two were getting pretty close. My mum smiles at Tate and nudges her leg. Tate looks away, embarrassment in her eyes. Gross, we're just friends. She scrunched up her nose, my breath catches. I duck completely behind the boulder, leaning back and dropping my head. Not now. Don't do this to me now. I shake my head from side to side, the filth on my hands grinding with the sweat on my palms as I clench my fists. You're a good girl, Tate, I hear my mum say. I'm not good with boys, I guess. Girls are tough too, Catherine, Tate's dad chimes in, and I hear him unpacking their picnicking supplies. Jared's a good kid. You two will figure it out. I should have had a girl, she responds. I clamp my hands over my ears. Too many voices. My head feels like it's in a vice grip and I can't shake it free. Yeah, Tate deserved all of that abuse for daring to hang out with another boy, and also it's Tate's fault somehow that Jared's mother wanted a girl. Is that the best you can do, Penelope? But you know what? Jared doesn't need therapy. This is nothing a bit of reckless endangerment while driving won't fix, because I guarantee you, Jared saw Rocky 4 and thought, hell yeah, that's totally me. Jared's mother tracks him down. How in the hell did you know I'd be here? Her small smile confused me. I have my ways, she mumbled. I wonder what it was, too, because my mother wasn't that clever. She sat down next to me, our legs dangling off the small cliff with a 5-foot drop to the pond. You haven't been here in years, she acted like she knew me. Give up the troubled teen act for 5 minutes, would you? She goes on about how she ruined Jared's 11th birthday and then Tate danced in her room to cheer him up. But I was young and immature. I thought I knew everything. Drinking was my escape and I abandoned you. You never deserved that. When I saw Tate trying to make you happy that night, I let her. The next morning you weren't in your room. When I looked out your window, I could see you both pass out on her bed, just sleeping. So I let it be. For years I knew you were sneaking over there to sleep, and I let it go because she made you happy when I failed. The purest, truest, most perfect thing in my world, and I dumped pile upon pile of shit on top of her for years. And not a realization worked its way into my head, and I felt like punching my fist through a wall. It's not even a joke. It's not even a joke. Like, no drywall is safe around Jared. Jesus Christ. I combed my hands through my hair, my eyes squeezing shut as I whispered to myself, I've been so horrible to her. Is he, just realizing this now? Hasn't he just realized that he was mean to Tate for no reason at least 10 times so far? What is the point? We get it. You're an idiot. It's like 3 people wrote this book and none of them were liaising during the process. So Jared is like Schrodinger's cat. He's both living and dead, realizing and not realizing, intending and not intending all at once. And always a twit. Always. Honey, she spoke up. You've been horrible to everyone. Some of us deserved it, some of us not. But Tate loves you. She's your best friend. She'll forgive you. Every adult in this book is inept. I love her. It was the most honest thing I'd confided in my mother for a long time. Hey, I don't know what teens need to hear this. I could have done with hearing it myself, but love doesn't mean mentally torturing someone for years, okay? You're not letting your father or me take anything else from you. Do you understand? Tears burned my eyes and I couldn't hold them back. How do I know I'm not going to be like him? I whispered. Well, you're not as sexy as your dad, for one thing. I guess we know where Jared gets his bottomless self-pitying from. Is there a single passage of dialogue from Jared's mum where she doesn't accuse herself for something? His mum tells him to tell Tate everything, chapter 30. Yes, they last forever. Tomorrow comes never. I looked down at the blank piece of printer paper, the words of my tattoo staring back at me. Now I knew what they meant. I was a huge idiot. That was for sure. Not only had I let myself get tied up by the bullshit my father doled out, but I'd willingly let my hate control me, wrongfully thinking that it made me stronger. Leaning down, I placed the paper on my thigh and scribbled another line. Until you. I would take chapters of Tom Bombadil singing about nothing over whatever the hell this is. Rob's written me Tom Bombadil style lyrics, and the only thing I can think of is Andy Serkis doing like, hey doll, Mary doll. Like that style, that's how he sings it. Hey doll, Mary doll, ring a dong dillo, Tom Bomb, jolly Tom, Tom Bombadillo. That's how Andy Serkis sings it, leave me alone. Jared's crying on his bed, sobbing on his pillow. Oh, I hate Rob. He's one of my best friends. It's such a bone of contention for me, all the fucking poems and songs in Lord of the Rings, and it never stops. Even the orcs are singing at one point, and I have to listen to Andy Serkis like sing all of it in like different dialects and different pitches, and it's just a lot. I'm getting flashbacks, it's just a lot. Jared decorates the tree with lights and lanterns and waits for Tate in her bedroom. Her hair hung loose and she wore dark faded jeans and a short sleeved black blouse. Too many clothes, but I like that about Tate. She never revealed too much and she reminded me of a present that I couldn't wait to unwrap. She looked sexy as hell and I had a hard time taking my mind off of the bed in the room. So he immediately sexualizes her when he's about to broach the subject of child abuse. Okay. Also, she never revealed too much, but hasn't there been multiple instances of her wearing tiny shorts and tight tops thus far? Like so tight you can just see her nipples poking out? Anyway, great piece of characterization here. I feel really moved by the way he wants to bang this girl before talking about how his brother was put in a freezer. Don't give me grief. I'm not the one who wrote it. Or the book. He tells her, and we've seen all of this before, so we can skip past a lot of it. Tate's eyes got red and pooled with tears. Jared's crying on his pillow. I want Andy Serkis to sing that. Tate's eyes got red and pooled with tears that she tried to hold back. I really saw the sickness in my head and the crud that had blackened my heart. I wanted to wipe away the tears that she cried for me. She'd always cared. She'd always loved me. I treated her worse than a dog for 3 years and she still cried for me. Yeah, she sure is a doormat. I guess you could say that her tears don't fall. They crash around him. He admits he only hurt her because he couldn't hurt his dad, and she's like, okay, fine, whatever. We never lost that. My hand was on her cheek and I brought her eyes up to meet mine. As much as I tried, I could never erase you from my heart. That's why I was such an asshole and kept guys away from you. You were always mine. Are you mine? She asked, wiping her tears with her thumb. Her shaky breath caressed my face and I couldn't hold back anymore. Lightly kissing the corner of her mouth, I whispered against her lips, always have been. No, not really, because he shagged half the state, so by his own logic, he can actually never be Tate's. Chapter 31. Jared, you're poking me. Tate's sleepy whimper stirs me awake. Oh God. I know where this is going. Flashback. And it takes me a few moments to open my eyes. Poking her. I check my hands, which aren't even touching her, and then I feel the fire and tightness in my pants. Shit. I roll over onto my back so I'm not spooning her anymore and run my hands over my face. My pee-pee is hard again, and I'm shivering with comfort and embarrassment. Nope, I'm shivering with discomfort and embarrassment. This happens a lot lately. So we open to this flashback, which sure is a choice. He wakes up and goes to find Tate standing in the rain because she's quirky like that. Tate never played games. There was never a flirty sparkle in her eye or a play of her lips to get me to notice her. She looked at me right now just like she used to. Like I was Christmas. More beautiful women being demeaned by idolizing the most mediocre of men. This should be its own genre at this point. Then Jared takes the cannibal perk. Faster and faster, I devoured Tate. It'd be a much more interesting story if that were true. She shook her head slowly. A little smile played on her lips. Didn't we just say that Tate has never had a play on her lips, whatever that means? There was never a flirty sparkle of sparkle on her eye or a play on her lips to get me to notice her. But there's a play on her lips now. So, proofreader anyone? In the rain, in Tate's beloved thunderstorm, is where we would make love for the first time. Laying her down, I saw... Angels were crying. Laying her down, I saw that she wore pink lace underwear. Thank God they're not black, I smiled to myself. I preferred black, but I liked that Tate surprised me. My good girl in pink. A good girl that was bad. Only for me. Why was I was laughing as I was writing this shit. I knew I didn't want you. My father's voice echoed from a distant island in my head and I hesitated. But Tate looked at me and ran a hand down my face, making me melt in her touch. I closed my eyes. Happiness. Heaven, euphoria. God, I'm in a good mood. I'm euphoric. Like, I think there was something in my water. I had no idea what state I was in, but it was new and it was true. Flip you, Dad. Ripping the condom from its wrapper, I slid it on and shoved my father a million miles away from me. That's right, Jared. Bang those daddy issues away. Jared thinking passionately about his father whilst handling his erect pee-pee is exquisite. If only his dad was dead so he could come and guide Jared's thrust like Patrick Swayze in Ghost. She really was a virgin. My head spun at the idea of causing her pain, but goddamn if it didn't turn me on too. She was mine now. I don't know if this is TMI, too personal to share, but I'm gonna just, relate with my lived experience. Why not? You're subscribed and watching this video for me, I hope. But this idea that Jared is happy because Tate is his, because she's a virgin, aka she has no one else to compare him to, thus his fragile ego is not threatened, is stupid, and we all know why. But the idea that Tate would be happy as a pick-me, that Jared was promiscuous but chose her, that she won him against, thousands apparently of other women, I don't think it's based in reality. So here's the personal part. I was with someone who was hypersexual due to non-sexual childhood trauma, but I'm not going to get into it because it's not my story, it's not my place. I just have to put that context out there. Sometimes people aren't hypersexual for no reason. Sometimes it is, to avoid things. It's to think of something else. That's why some people can be quite hypersexual. Some people are just hypersexual because they have a high sex drive. But I was with someone who was a bit hypersexual, I'd say, and had slept with dozens of girls before I dated them as a virgin, and it didn't make me feel good at all. So I was immature as a teenager, but it did make me feel insecure for a lot of the relationship that I, a single vagina, really debating myself there, would be enough for someone who had so much experience. And he wasn't a bad person, not a bad guy, he had his own thing going on. We're still mates, I'd say. We still chat every now and then, Merry Christmas and all that. I don't know if this is too personal to include or if it's even unfair to say about my nameless boyfriend at the time, but my lived experience of this oddly popular literary phenomena isn't positive at all. I felt sexually inadequate due to my limited experiences beforehand, and I felt more confident post-breakup when I, dated other people and got more experience myself. Because it was hard for me as an insecure teenager to not compare myself against countless other people, but then you never get that side of it. It's always just like, oh my god, he picked me and he's like a sexual god. It's never, oh wow, he's got so much experience and I don't know what I'm doing, and oh, he's got so much experience and I'm gonna think about that, and that's called retroactive jealousy. I don't know. My own personal experience is it wasn't the best. It was just another cause for me to be insecure about. As an adult, would that be different? Well, I'm not a virgin as an adult, so it would be different regardless. Also, in this dreadful, dreadful fantasy, Tate is essentially a magic pill who fixes everything for Jared. All of his bad behavior is cured through love, while in reality, that kind of imbalance is going to just inevitably lead to trouble. Jared has banged the entire town. What does that do to Tate? Every time they go out, she will see someone he's been with, but I suppose they're all the easy sluts, and it wasn't real love, so the women are to blame after all. They have sex. Forehead to forehead, I looked down at her hot, wet body, banging me as I banged her, and I couldn't even remember the sound of my father's voice anymore. What? Dude, stop thinking of your dad. I forgot about this. Rob said, I need your audience to know that I was crying with laughter and clapping at this part. Sublime. I looked up and saw her eyebrows pinched together, there's that phrase again, and her mouth not taking in air. Her storm-filled orbs were the sweetest blend of pleasure and pain, caught in the most perfect raw moment I'd ever seen in my life. She was coming. I am embarrassed that I've ever had sex now. Are the orbs her eyes, or her tits, or her nipples? I just never know with Jared. Chapter 32. Her lips grazed my chest. I've always wanted you, Jared. Even at 12, I wanted you to kiss me. It damn well should have been me who gave her first kiss, and her only kisses. Thank you for what you gave me tonight. I groaned at how nice she was, and I felt myself swell up and get heavy. I wish I'd been your first. You've had a lot of girls, haven't you? Her voice held a hint of sadness, and I averted my eyes. Yeah, I definitely didn't want to talk about this. More than I should have. I stuck to the easy answer. Their names, gone. Their faces, forgotten. I loved Tate, and nothing was better than making love to someone I actually loved. Well, it's nice to know that the dozens of women prior were just fleshlights for Jared. They then argue that Jared doesn't have girlfriends. I ran my hand down my face. Girlfriend isn't enough to describe you, Tate. That term is disposable. You're not my girlfriend, my girl, or my woman. You're just mine. I bit out every syllable so she would understand. And I'm yours, I added a little calmer. This will be a fantastic technicality for him to die on when he ends up shagging someone else. She took a breath, calming down. Jared, you have to tell me which ones. I let out a bitter, ragged laugh. This wasn't in the original book, by the way. Why? So you can get upset? Or was it? God, I don't remember, and I don't care to. Why? So you can get upset every time you see one of them? I'm more mature than that, she snarled. Give me a little credit. This isn't even about them. It's about you owning up. What? I told you about my whole past. I threw up my hands in the air. What more do you want? I want to know everything. I don't want to walk down the halls at school and unknowingly make eye contact with 5 different girls you've screwed, she yelled, her eyes hot and fierce. Considering Jared tortured her for years just for kissing another boy, I think this is a reasonable request from Tate, but of course he just gets mad over it. There aren't enough circles of hell into which Jared could fall if he had to endure Tate having filthy sex with dozens after dozens of men just because she saw him kiss a girl once. Imagine that. I mean, what the hell did she want anyway? I couldn't go back and change anything I'd done. It made no sense to relive any of that shit. She was my future and I didn't want her knowing all of that ugliness. Would I be obsessed over guys that touched her? Yes, goddammit, which is why I didn't ask. Hypocrite! Drywall salesmen all over the state are grateful for Jared. I don't like being in the dark, Jared. She crossed her arms over her chest, pushing her breasts out further off her towel. Nice to know he's sexualizing her mid-argument. It's a lot of me to ask, knowing I share a school with these girls. I want to know who, where, and what you've done. You got off easy. You know it's only been you for me. They don't need to look at me with smug grins knowing they've had what's mine. And I want to know about Casey too, she added. That's what this was about. And god damn it, I couldn't help but smile. You're jealous. I personally love it when men make fun of my insecurities instead of, having tact. Watch his nose start bleeding if she starts reminiscing about Maddock the slut running his hands over her. Leave? There were at least 10 different things I still wanted to do to her tonight and she wanted me gone. Tate's feelings, the crocodile snappy thing, Jared's shriveled peepee. The greater than less than signs, by the way, I have no idea how those work still, and I'm 21 plus a few years, and it simply tickles me pink that he can't respond to any of her emotional needs but gets upset because he's obsessed with sex. Fury burned in my stomach, making my blood boil, and I was ready to pick another serious fight. I'd already spilled my guts about my brother, my father, my whole stupid sob story. I talked about stuff I didn't want to because I loved her and I wanted her to know she could trust me, but I was done being pushed around for one night. Shut up. Catching her by the arm, I pulled her up against me and lifting her off her feet, carried her back into the kitchen. She tried to wriggle free. Let go of me. Putting her down in front of me, I backed her up against the kitchen table and hovered down over her. I've been playing games with you for 3 years, Tatum. You don't get to run away anymore. Yeah, that's not at all rapey, is it? Bless him for not liking someone holding him to account. If he were a museum exhibit, even curators wouldn't be allowed to handle him with the softest gloves because he's that fragile. Anyway, I don't remember any of this happening in the first book. Is this extra content? Is this all I'm worth? I wasn't mad or trying to be condescending. I was kind of getting off on her anger, actually. And whether I liked it or not, my pee-pee kept getting harder the more we faced off. It was like electricity shooting to my groin, seeing Tate turn fierce. God damn, she was beautiful. Her eyes were sharp and she breathed hard through her mouth. She looked furious and hot and I had no idea if she was going to hit me or screw me. I only knew that both would be violent. Calm down, missionary with the lights off. He has precisely 2 modes and I'm so tired of them. I can feel my brain growing numb. He's either angry or horny, or angry that he's horny, or horny because he's angry, or angry he's angry, or horny he's horny. He doesn't relate to Tate at all. His relationship with her is entirely based on possession and assuaging his own monstrous insecurities. Poor Tate, she never stood a chance. Nobody was looking out for her, so she fell into the arms of this tear-stained pillow crust. You want to know everything? Then let me show you. Turn around and bend over. She turned around slowly and relief flooded me. Her back was to me, and she stood there waiting for what she probably thought was going to be some twisted violation of her body. But I knew she loved me. Oh God, what now? He bends her over the table to grope at her for a bit. It's not that I wanted to get flashes of Tate as a kid. What? It's not that I wanted to get flashes of Tate as a kid right now, but I still couldn't believe that we were here. Standing up, I pressed my pee-pee into her and kneaded her hips. Tell me what you want, Tate, please. What do you want from me? I'm screaming internally and externally. There's more sex scenes. So I rocked into her, slow at first, then faster. Before long, I was grasping her hips, pushing inside of her until I couldn't go any further. But she wasn't content to just lay there and get taken either. Not Tate. She pushed up on her hands, and I almost, right there. God! Her palms were flat on the table, holding her torso upright, and her back was arched. I stared in. Oh my God. I'm going to need to I need a smoke. Not like a sexy smoke, just a stress-induced smoke. Good God. I stared in awe at her posture in front of me as she took more control and backed into me as I slammed inside of her. Tate, hell yes. She literally just moved herself into a doggy position and Jared's mind is blown. I just know he was such a boring shag for all of those other women. I know it. She was mine, and this perfect thing between us was never going to be ruined again. They break up in a later book, by the way. I really hate you. Her voice was weak, but had an edge that told me she was joking. Why? The massage, the oral, the kissing, the talk. I don't think I needed to know that you did that with other girls after all. I didn't, I said right away. What? I never did any of that with any other girl. I lifted my head up and looked down at her. She tried popping up too, arguing, but I told you to tell me you wanted to know what other girls got of me. Well, that's what they didn't get. My voice was firm but soft. I needed her to hear me. I never touched their bodies like that or held them. I never cared about them enjoying it. They didn't get any part of me worth having. Tate, this should not make her feel better, but alas, she's insecure and childish, so... And I'm still waiting to discover the part of him that is worth having, because him being a stallion in bed is clearly just part of his coma dream from his dad clocking him at the start of the book. Also, the massage, the oral, the kissing, the song. What, so he never did like oral with any other girl, but he's like a sex god? What did he practice on? An orange? Behave. Chapter 33. Somehow this speech makes Tate cry with happiness. Jared tells her about the month he spent sleeping on her floor while she was away in France. Why wouldn't you sleep in my bed? She asked softly. I touched my lips to hers, soft and warm. Because you wouldn't have wanted me there. I was a sick man. I could humiliate her, isolate her, and hurt her, but sleeping in her bed while she was away was too invasive. Yeah, I couldn't explain it either. Penelope, you just aren't even trying, mate. You're just not even trying. I mean, it can get difficult to the end of writing the story. You're tired, you're raw from all of the your own sex scenes featuring teens who were legal children a chapter ago, but now they've had birthdays is absolutely fine. So sure, maybe sling yourself some easy balls here and there. I can't explain it either. That'll do. I definitely want you in my bed, and I love you. Closing my eyes, a big fat smile spread across my face. If only Maddox could see me now. Or maybe not. He wants Maddox the slut and his dad in the room to clap. I just know it. Or does he only think about his dad when he has an erection? I forget. How are you feeling? I asked when I let her go. Good, she nodded and wiggled her eyebrows. Maybe we should see what it's like in water. Heat and every other source of energy inside me shot downward, but the crushing disappointment hit me like a brick. Can't, I mumbled. I don't have any more condoms. Maybe Tate had some. Wait, she better not. Haven't we already dealt with this particularly cloying insecurity yet? We had to have that scene where he grins like a curb-stomped clown upon discovering she was a virgin. Wasn't that enough? Penelope, why are you doing this to us? Jared takes Tate and Maddox to homecoming. Anyway, my mother had nothing to worry about. Tate and I were careful, and she'd been keeping me off of her all week anyway. She didn't want to get distracted from classes, and I hadn't been pushing it. Tonight, though, yeah, she was in for it. Even though he's with her, he still manages to sound like a sex offender. Tate was standing on her front porch, looking gorgeous as hell, talking to Maddox like they were friends. I shook my head, not believing the turn of events, me neither. She'd broken his nose, kicked him in the junk, and traded words more than once with him. But she was like her dad, solve the problem and move on. He assaulted her twice. Maddox, not the father. Also, Jared just has to make everything about someone's dad, doesn't he? Jesus, Jared. Sometimes a cigar is just your dad's hand on your shaft, guiding you into your girlfriend. And just like smoking a whole huge cigar, I need to vomit. Totally, she nodded at Maddox. This is the start of a great friendship. It could be the start of a great porno too. Maddox shot back and I clenched my fist. A mediocre porno at best. Why is Jared, the secret sweetheart, friends with this sentient bin bag? Chapter 34. Pictures, punch, and poor-ass music. The gym had been decorated in a New York theme, which Tate loved, and I was extremely delighted that Maddox had joined us after all. He filled in where I failed. Dancing in public? Check. Cutesy pictures with loving poses? Check. Polite, futile, nonsensical chatter? Check. Right, so Maddox is doing all of the boyfriendy stuff for Jared, all of the stuff that Jared can't be bothered to do, but Jared's the one that gets to go home and shag Tate? Huh. But you know, this tracks because Jared loves nothing, absolutely nothing about Tate's personality, except how she's similar to her dad, which naturally drives him wild. So why would he make any kind of effort for her sake? He spent the entire novel telling us about Tate's tits and arse. And/or arse, so Maddox can deal with all the boring stuff like dancing together or making conversation. Also, if you look at the screenshot, the spelling of the word cutesy has been totally obliterated here, But who cares? They go to the after party and sneak off to have sex. She stumbled and latched onto my shoulders to steady herself. The surprised little moan she let loose filled my mouth so damn hard that I was ready to ride this storm right here and now. Yeah, this was not what I'd planned, but I'd been good tonight. I deserved a reward. You've literally done nothing all night by your own admission. His fist-based amnesia is getting worse. He can't remember things from only an hour or so ago. My tone was joking, but my words weren't. I wasn't insecure about Tate. I knew she loved me, and I could trust her. I also didn't mind other guys looking at her, wanting her. It kind of turned me on, actually. No, it doesn't. Behave. No, my crime would lay in the fact that every time some dipshit pointed at her tonight or some asshole did a double take when she walked by, I wanted to put my hands all over her to show them who had claim. The wolf pack pissing on that girl in the Zodiac Academy are less territorial than Jared. Yes, I edited that video for Rachel. She pulled away and then came back in to tease me again and again, flicking her tongue underneath my top lip and catching my bottom lip between her teeth. The tiny nibbles had tingles, electrifying my groin. God, I wish they electric chaired your groin. And my stomach damn near growled with hunger. I didn't know whether I wanted to bang her or eat her. Jared unlocked the cannibal perk, which, I've already said, but clearly Jared is just leveling up in this class. Where'd my good girl go? I teased, but I loved it. Bad. Only for me. His metric for bad is so lame, I nearly felt embarrassed for him for a second there. Nearly. She was a drug, and I was higher than a kite. Never done anything harder than ibuprofen, have you? Let's not pretend Jared knows a thing about drugs. He has to fit precariously into this niche of troubled borderline alcoholic chic. So being an actual crackhead is off the cards. Jared would be the guy to do a line of off-brand Persil and pretend he's coked off his tits. He would ask for 1 heroin, please. Shut up, Jared. There's more graphic sex scenes between these high schoolers. Her blonde hair spilled around me and she was an animal looking at me like she knew exactly how to kill me. What? When you've written so many sex scenes to satisfy your high schooler fetish, your imagery no longer makes any sense. Pleasure swept over me like a wave of heat. Does this mean he was in the blast radius of a nuke? Because boy, I hope so. Tell me you like it, Tate. I had to know she loved this, that she was going to come back for more, that she was my girlfriend. I never wanted to give anyone that title because I thought I wouldn't be able to make the commitment. That wasn't it. I already had a girlfriend all along. Even though we were enemies, no one could take Tate's place. So she was your girlfriend all the time you were torturing with her and sleeping with dozens of other girls. Penelope, you confound me. The implications of his cognitive dissonance here is chilling. After sex, Jared tells her a big secret. I nodded. I didn't tell you everything though. The day I ran out, my father forced me into the basement to help my brother. With that, I didn't know, but when I got there, I saw the bile started forcing its way up my throat, so I concentrated on my breathing. I saw my dad's girlfriend and his friend dead on the basement floor. Penelope, you can't randomly add stuff in. You can't. What do you think happened down there? She asked the question I'd been asking myself for years. My father wasn't arrested for murder, and I don't even know if the police found bodies when I got home and reported my brother's abuse. I thought for a moment, afraid to admit out loud what I knew was ridiculous to suspect. I think 2 lowlives got exactly what they deserved. Firstly, yeah, right. Secondly, I meant to believe Jax, a boy who could fit in a freezer, killed 2 adults with his bare hands. Thirdly, I forgot it was like Jared's dad's girlfriend and his mate. So Jared's dad didn't kill Jax for killing his girlfriend. Jared's dad who already put his own boy in a freezer. What? Anyway, don't worry. We do have an entire novel from Jax's POV to indulge in this nonsense. Chapter 35. People had been looking at us during the past week, used to seeing us as enemies and me never with my hands on a girl in public. They seemed pretty confused. But instead of shying away and putting on my tough guy face, I gave them all the middle finger. Well, figuratively. God, he's so hard. I just can't. Guarantee his tough guy face is just him looking like he's confused about following through on a fart. I bet he's also practiced it at length in a mirror, concluding that he was fucking awesome. I almost let out a laugh with the way my heart jumped. The only future plans I have are taking you to see a concert over Thanksgiving, I said quietly as I pulled 2 tickets out of my pocket. Oh, her eyes widened as she snatched the tickets out of my hand. You didn't? Avenged sevenfold? What, no Godsmack? You know, yeah, they're going to a concert just as long as he doesn't have to dance with her or talk to her at all. Jared goes to see the career counsellor. It's said, she continued as if I said nothing, that you have strengths in leadership. Why? Because he was head bully. This is just a film written and directed by and starring Jared. I'm so done with this. He's preternaturally handsome, so mentally gifted he doesn't ever have to participate in class but can't work out his own motivations for anything as long as it's convenient to the plot, is the best race car driver, fist fighter, brooder, lover, and now apparently people follow him like he's the leader of an army ranger unit. Steven Seagal has more humility than this. She covered her smile with her hand. No, her voice cracked with a laugh. Like the military or politics. I guess he is psychopathic enough for politics. Jared, she called, and I stopped. The test also says you're a protector, a nurturer. She trailed off as my eyes widened. You might want to consider careers in healthcare or youth guidance. She looked down, almost embarrassed. This book is deliberately winding me up, I'm convinced. Has anyone ever misunderstood their own story more? At no point has he shown any nurturing traits, and he actively flees scenarios where he has to compromise, even getting his friend to dance with the love of his life because he doesn't display affection in public for fear of looking lame. I reckon, and hear me out, yeah, that in novels or stories or whatever, we should encourage people to display the behaviours of their characters so we have evidence for them in the text, instead of just telling the reader 85% of the way through the story and giving them an aneurysm as they try to reconcile the conflicting subject matter. I know that is a wild theory, but I reckon it could work. I know I'm not as successful as Penelope, whoever the fuck, but if we all agree to do this from now on, I think it could be really good. Could change the face of literature as we know it. Maddox comes to yell at Jared for the leaked sex tape. Oh yeah, that happens now. Hot air poured in and out of my nose. Between this phrase and people's eyebrows pinching together, I think we should all collectively get Penelope a new thesaurus, a new dictionary, a new Google search engine. I don't know. Tate beats up his car. She was losing it. How many times could she be humiliated before she crumbled? How many times could she be hurt before the damage was irreparable? And whose fault is most of that? We've spent the entire novel objectifying this girl, so it's not really very shocking as a plot point when everyone else decides to as well. Then she walks off. Chapter 36. Jared tries to find Tate and gets Maddox to sort things out with the headmaster so Tate doesn't get into trouble. Principal Masters was scared of Maddox's father, and thank God for that. Mr. Carruthers wasn't just a lawyer. He was the guy whose cases were studied in law schools. His weight kept us out of trouble, and now Tate was going to keep her record clean too. Am I supposed to be impressed by this phenomenal abuse of power that kept these two little psychos safe? Because I ain't. What a convenient card to hold up your sleeve. I'm on the edge of my seat now. Girls squealed and others backed away. That's when I noticed I still had an audience and for the first time in weeks felt the need to hit shit. All of you, I bellowed, pointing my finger around me in a circle. Erase that video from your phones. Now, if I see anyone with it, you're dead. Bitches included. On one hand, it's true equality that he will hit men and women equally. On the other hand, bitches. While I understand his need for a cathartic display of futile aggression, has he forgotten Maddox's dad is a demon lawyer and could just sue everyone for possessing revenge porn? We're just going to bring up that thing from a paragraph ago and never use it again? Okay then. I think the fist-based amnesia theory really holds weight, doesn't it? He calls Tate's dad to let him know what happened. Jared, he piped up again calmer than expected. Find my child, get her home safe. He ground out every word. And don't leave her side until I get home. I nodded even though he couldn't see it. You're an idiot, Jared. And then, he added, I may never let you near her again. Finally, some parenting. He goes to the cemetery to find Tate. Her mother was buried here, and it was where I realised that she was more than a friend. I brought a balloon to her mother's grave and stole the fossil necklace that Tate had left for her mother from here. I realised she was more than a friend, so I stole from her. I get so much whiplash from the conflicting statements here, it's such a mess. Even though this place was tied to something painful for Tate, I looked at it with good memories. Oh, it's so sad for Tate here because her mother is dead or whatever. But hey, I get to ogle her close up and steal from her, so it's a great day out for me. My boots ground the shattered glass under my feet from Tate smashing my windows as I got out of the car, but I barely noticed. If you barely noticed, then why are you telling me? I am extra petty today. Tate. I couldn't do any more than whisper her name as I approached. She tensed, but she wouldn't look at me. God damn it. Tate, we are climbing out of this mess one way or another because no one ruins us. Leave her alone, please. Shouldn't her tension and abject discomfort at his presence give him a thundering erection? I thought he was a man. Huh. Tate yells at him because she thinks he's the culprit, and in a way, he really, really is. If he hadn't called the police on himself for beating up Jax's foster dad, he wouldn't have been arrested, wouldn't be visiting his dad in prison and hating it, wouldn't have met Piper, realised she was the cop's daughter and started hate banging her for fun. She wouldn't think he's actually into her, get jealous of Tate and bully her, and no one would be bullying Tate if Jared hadn't turned her into a perpetual victim for years. So I guess it really is Jared's fault. She wasn't staying and talking this out. She was damn pissed and she clearly wanted to be away from me. I called your dad. That stopped her in her tracks. She mumbled something under her breath, but I couldn't hear it. I probably didn't want to hear it either. She was still. She was quiet. Move, mother flipper. Why is he swearing at her? It's not the time. Anyway, they hunt down his phone with a tracker. Chapter 37. Jared realizes someone recorded them from the balcony that night. That was the first time Tate had taken over, tried something new and gotten on top. She was brave and beautiful, and I was rocked. Is this what constitutes as being brave nowadays? Doing cowgirl. Firefighters move over. You are absolute pussies compared to Tate. Once again, displaying the absolute blandness of Jared's sexual repertoire. Maybe we wouldn't find my phone. Maybe I wouldn't prove my innocence in her eyes. Maybe taking her back to school with all of those eyes was a huge mistake. But she was fighting for us again, and that had me so happy I'd dance in public anytime she asked. Yeah, I don't really think that's a fair trade-off, mate. It's actually hilarious how even now he's so self-absorbed, he's thinking of how generous he is while she's once again having her life ruined. They find the phone and Piper appears. I didn't hit women, but I damn well let Tate hit her. Am I supposed to clap for you that you don't hit women? And I thought bitches were included, Jared. I'm checking the terms and conditions here and it quite clearly says that bitches are included. May I speak to your manager? I tried to keep Tate behind me, but she yanked me back and quickly stepped in front. Oh, Jesus. I rubbed my forehead and tried not to smile. Nothing was funny here, but Tate continued to surprise me. Yes, it's hilarious that Tate has to defend herself from yet more harassment because some girl is obsessed with your dusty pee-pee. His lack of sympathy for what she's going through remains staggering, but utterly unsurprising. I'm surprised he isn't talking about how good her ass looks as she advances on whatever her name is. He ought to be imagining a lingerie mud wrestling match as they both scream his name. She held up her cell. Oh, because she hit redial and everyone heard my ringtone for Tate. Limp Biscuits behind blue eyes. I'm screaming. I was screaming because I searched the lyrics to this song and Penelope really thinks that they did something. Tate and Piper fight and it gets broken up by the teacher. I tipped my foot up and put pressure down on Nate's arm as a warning to keep his mouth shut. He struggled, but I just pressed harder. I doubted he'd say anything anyway. He didn't want us going to the cops with this. I would if Tate wanted to, but I'd rather handle it on my own. Yes, because handling things by yourself has historically worked for you. The rest of the students departed slowly and quietly. No one laughed behind their backs. No one gave Tate a look. They knew that the video wasn't my doing, and if I wasn't on board with it, they shouldn't be either. I don't have the patience to explain why this is stupid or bad. They go home. Chapter 38. Piper gets taken out of school by her parents to be homeschooled, which is possibly too harsh of a punishment. Tate's dad supports her relationship with Jared. Sure. Jared gets her the bracelet with the charms that represent her lifelines. I didn't know until recently about Tate's survival tactics with me. And again, I failed to see how this is a romantic gift. The girl had to have tactics to cope with Jared. If this were a film, there ought to be haunting music playing wherever it's implied that these two end up together. And he did. My brother's words, I want to meet the girl that's made you so boring. Put him back in the freezer. We were 18, but we both respected her dad. But in his head, and probably most fathers' heads, 18 was still too young for the stuff I wanted to do to her, for the stuff I'd already done to her. 18 is actually the right age for the limp-wristed, vanilla, over in 5 minutes sex where you have a little cry after due to the self-loathing and shame. I'm going to write yet another POV for this dog shit excuse for a story. It's going to be about Tate's sexual awakening. She and Jared will watch porn together at the start of the book, the most audacious sexual risk Jared has ever taken. And while he goes out to work at job, whatever that is, Tate remains behind, going down a porn rabbit hole, acquiring new tastes that intimidate Jared and leave him feeling totally inadequate. And we watch his psychological collapse as his girlfriend is no longer satisfied by his tepid missionary attempts, accompanied to the tones of early 2000s nu metal and butt rock. Tate's dad interrupts them. My body was screaming, but what could I tell him? Hey, I need your daughter for about 3 hours or until she passed out from exhaustion. 3 hours? Firstly, yeah, right. Secondly, it's not Sudoku. Why are you taking so long to give her one pathetic orgasm? He goes home and Casey calls him. We're just finding random crap to extend the story with. Like... Chapter 39. Casey sounds drunk and is with Maddox, so that's not worrying at all. What? Maddox got defensive. Casey's awesome. She got you a present. He's waiting in the hot tub right now. I'll give you a hint. His name is Nate. So He takes Jax to go beat Nate up, which is brotherly bonding, I guess. And may I point out, Jax killed 2 people, like beat them up so badly they died. And Jared, the good brother that he is, has taken Jax with him to go beat up a guy. Jax is a serial killer. It was deserved, sure, but he's still a serial killer. You don't think this might trigger him? You don't think he might accidentally go too far and then you'd have a dead Nate on your hands? Oh, Jesus, he whined. Just don't get her, this is Jax. Just don't get her name tattooed on your body, please. The only chick's name a guy should ever have tattooed is his own daughter's. Calling a hypothetical daughter a chick, Jax sure doesn't fall too far from the dickhead tree. It must run in the family. Maddox lives in a mansion because whilst Tate and Jared are rich, Maddox is rich. I don't really care this late into the story, but okay. Jax knew everything that had gone down with Nate. He was helping with the video after all. And while he gave me a hard time about my attachment to Tate, he was on our side. A hard time about his attachment to Tate. So he's just another little sexist psycho. Back in the freezer. Maybe Jared's dad was actually doing his best to prevent these delusional little psychos from escaping into society. Anyway, all of this was Casey's idea to lure Nate down. Jared pulls a knife out on Nate. What is this? London? Is that too far? Nate says he's sorry and blames it on drinking. I'm surprised that Jared doesn't just accept that one. Jared just lets him off with nary a cut in sight because he doesn't want Tate to look down on him or something, as if she's not attracted to him being unhinged in the first place. It's like in a TV show where a bad character kills people and then the good guys do nothing because they don't want to be dragged down to the same level. Also, Tate has been conditioned to accept anything at this point. Her boyfriend carries a knife and draws it on people to solve problems. Guess he must be displaying those leadership and nurturing traits. He does make Nate walk home naked in October for 10 miles. Fair enough. Thanks, I nodded to Casey. Sure. Her eyes quickly reverted to Jax, pinching her eyebrows together. Looking over at him, I saw he was scanning her up and down, violating her in every way a man can violate a woman without touching her. Like, the language used is atrocious. The corner of his mouth turned up. Do you need a ride home? I don't know you. Her sneer was condescending. You will, he shot back matter-of-factly. May as well get acquainted now. Oh, Jesus. Her face fell, but she returned the favour and gave him the once-over he'd given her. How old are you anyway? Old enough to unravel you. I highly doubt that. We both steered clear of commitment, but we went about it differently. He didn't get caught up in the long line of short, disconnected relationships the way I did. He didn't mind letting people in because he knew they'd never make it to the end zone with him. I was afraid I would care too much. Jax knew he wouldn't care enough. Oh, good. He is a sexist, future sex offender psychopath. I'm beginning to think Jared's sexy dad had a point. I'm trying to get level with Tate. Shit needs to calm down. Don't create more drama. Casey's not a one-night stand kind of girl, and she's definitely too emotional for friends with benefits. Just leave her alone. Too late, my brother. My people are hunters. Penelope, you have a real knack for making victims of child abuse so unlikable. It's a talent, for sure. Also, all this statement does is imply all Native Americans are sexual predators. I guess macroaggressive shit like that can make it through when you don't have an editor. His people. I laughed to myself, although it was sad. I doubted Jax even remembered what his mother looked like, let alone her tribe's name. And he was only a 4th American Indian anyway, but to him, he was all Indian. He just sounds like being American, you know, the ones who claim Native American heritage from 1/16th DNA. To highlight how dumb Jax is, this is like if I turned around to all of you lot and said, I'm all Pakistani and don't you dare say otherwise. Chapter 40. My dick was throbbing so hard it hurt. I was waking up with constant hard-ons and it was like I was 13 all over again. I was actually waking up in pain with the pressure between my legs. No, you weren't. Forget my comment of him sliding around like a snail. Jared surfs around town on a wave of his own ejaculate. He is held hostage by his own dick to a comedic degree. I'm sure this is here to excuse his need to pump his way through the local community. He's not promiscuous. He's just so masculine he can't contain his own virility. It would kill him if he tried. Shut up. Tate appears. Tate always tasted good, like hot apples and angry skies, and her tongue was simply candy. What? Other rejected entrees included frappes, freshly laid tarmac, and the duality of man. What? I started to ask, but sucked in my breath when she began peeling off her clothes. Gah. Her little white tank top, gone. Her pajama shorts and panties, off in a single movement. And when she came to me, I was lightheaded and hard. I don't know why I found this funny.
Stop it. Get some help.
Her skin was silky and firm, like rain. Neither of those things are attributes of rain. They have tepid sex. Her heavenly skin felt like cream. I thought it felt like rain.
¿Por qué no las dos?
I always knew when Tate came. I mean, climaxing isn't really known for being subtle, is it? Jared is still inside her when this happens. My head snapped up seeing Jax, and Tate squealed, pulling my body down to cover hers. What the hell? I was naked as hell and Jax just stood there, wide-eyed with his lips formed in a circle. Get the hell out, I yelled. After a pause, he broke out in a grin and snorted. Hey, you must be Tate, I'm Jackson. And that idiot held out his hand for her to shake. Thankfully, Tate was shielded by me, but I wasn't covered. The dickhead had left the door open too. Tate peeked out and offered her hand bashfully. Hi, Jackson, nice to meet you. They shook, as if, and the idiot stood there, smiling. Get out, I barked again, my eyes burning with murder. Jared, why are you yelling? My mother poked her head in and Tate shrunk up into a ball underneath me again. Jackson is a freak and the rest of this is just cartoony. This is all hellish, isn't it? At least it continues the proud tradition of walking all over Tate's boundaries and making a mockery of her bodily autonomy, thank God. Dude, I take it all back, Jax rushed to say when I entered the kitchen. You should definitely get her name tattooed on your body. Hell, I'll get her name tattooed on my body. So now he's okay with the relationship just because Tate is hot. I've had enough. Tate goes to school wearing a short black dress, so Jared is horny, and why won't this story end? Then everyone gets sent a video of Nate crying in the hot tub, but Tate isn't happy because it means everyone will start talking about her and Jared again, even though people were literally just gossiping about them that same morning. But oh well, what is consistency? What is why didn't you tell me about this morning? Her wall was up, and it's just another fucking issue, and we've like pages left to go. Her wall was up, and I stood there in awe of how close I'd been to her a moment ago. Another video, Jared, she burst out. I should have known about this. I didn't know it was being recorded. What the hell? Why was she mad? If anything, she should have been happy I defended her honour. Tate was overreacting because she didn't know what had happened. You're blowing up about nothing. Again, just like my car. He never learns. He actually never learns. Never learns. We're one chapter away from the ending. Why all this extra conflict? Jared mentions it was Casey's idea, so Tate gets mad that everyone else was in on this except her, and I didn't have a chance. I gritted out, waving my hand. You crept into my room and jumped on my cock so fast this morning. Ugh, she growled and slammed her knee right between my legs. I hunched forward and fell to one knee. Shit. I moaned as a white-hot pain shot through my groin. Jesus Christ, Tate. My eyes squeezed shut, and I breathed in and out quickly, trying to keep my legs from collapsing underneath me. My dick was on fire and nausea rolled through my stomach in waves. Holy mother. I sucked in breath after breath, trying not to vomit or cry. Tate was gone. I didn't see her leave, but I felt her absence. And there I was, alone and stupid in a hallway full of people I couldn't see because I was blurry-eyed and shaking. That is the best part of the entire book. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And everyone claps and cheers. Chapter 41. Maddox appears, so they chat about Tate. She overreacted. I stood up straight, trying to nonchalantly massage my dick back to life in a hallway full of people. Okay. I took the high road last night. Besides, after what that dickhead did she really think I was going to do nothing? And why does it bother her anyway? The questions kept coming. Tate shouldn't have been that angry. Sweat covered my neck and back, and I felt like chasing her down and throwing her over my shoulder.
Why are you the way that you are? I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Tate? She's our shorty. Maddox says this, which firstly, lol. You're an uber rich blonde boy, shut up. Secondly, like imagine Draco Malfoy saying that, behave. Secondly, was she your shorty when you were assaulting her, or... I barreled down the hallway, ready to yank her out of calculus. You know there's a non-aggressive way to refer to your own girlfriend, yeah? Then there's an assembly about bullying. Huh? Looking for a blonde hair was a nightmare. I'd never really noticed how many blondes we had until now, but I knew Tate. And I'd know her when I saw her. Yeah, you won't know her when you see her because that's how vision works, Jared. I do think it is sweet though that Jared has learned to identify his girlfriend by sight, given that he has only been able to relate to women, bitches, as amalgamated vaginas and tits until now. He's almost as smart as a dog. He sees Tate and starts badgering her. Calm down, man. My stomach tightened, and I didn't know if I liked the drama or if I was just so used to it. Boys aren't dramatic or emotional, my ass. Tate stared ahead, refusing to look at me. You get to react and behave without any by your leave from anyone else, but I'm supposed to drop my shit when you want my attention. My God, she's right, you know. She's so right. I mean, it's an accurate observation by Tate, so I can only assume Penelope wrote it by accident, or someone snuck into their house and added it while they were sleeping. What are you mad about? Last night wasn't to hurt you. I gripped the armrest tighter. I loved her anger. Always had. Just not enough to have angry sex, you pasty little puss boy. Boom. Dunked. Served. Roasted. Whatever. She basically says everything is always on your terms, leave me alone for now. And then I just knew. Instinctively. As much as I know the sun will rise tomorrow, I knew what was going to happen in an assembly hall in front of 2,000 plus students in an assembly about bullying. With my heart jackhammering through my chest and a fog in my head convincing me not to think about what I was about to do, I walked down the aisle and climbed the stairs up to the stage. Fuck this. But the headmaster just lets Jared go on stage and he starts yapping for no reason. I murdered a teddy bear when I was 8, I said matter-of-factly. Guys hollered their approval while girls erupted in R's. I know. I started slowly pacing the stage. I was a dick even then, right? People laughed. At you, not with you. I shook my head, embarrassed, while the guys snorted and laughed and the girls mooned. Are you sure you meant the word mooned? Do we have different definitions of what mooning is? Though I love the imagery of just all the girls deciding to drop trowel and moon. Though to be honest, I do view all of his peers as the barnyard creatures of Animal Farm, easily led and gormless. Some kid made fun of his teddy bear, so he decided to chop it up so he wouldn't need anything because he's that hard instead of completely disturbed. I hope he cut it up in the garden during a rainstorm and then looked up into the sky as he screamed over the body of the bear. It's the kind of stable behavior we would expect from him. He straight up tells the audience he was friends with Tate and in love with her, but then abused her so he wasn't attached to her because, you know, he needs therapy. Like, he does actually use the word abused, which I feel is something at least. Now, I could go on about mummy didn't love me and daddy hit me, but who doesn't have a story, right? I asked. There are times when we can blame a situation on others, but we own our reactions to them. There comes a point where we are the ones responsible for our choices and excuses don't carry weight anymore. I just aired my business to the whole school. They knew I was a bully, a jerk, but the only good opinion I needed was hers. Descending the stairs, mic in hand, I walked up the aisle towards my girlfriend. Hundreds of pages too late, this revelation, and now he's going to embarrass her in front of the school, but she's going to be too dumb to notice. This is the laziest, most convenient, and most melodramatic fart of a denouement I've witnessed in a while, and I've hated every minute of it. Thank you, Penelope. Every minute of my future belongs to you. They break up in a later book. So, of course, she accepts his whatever the hell this was, and everyone claps. The end. There's a preview of Maddox's book called Rival, but I'm not reading it now because I'll cover it next month, or maybe in 2 months' time. Goodbye. I'm done. What a miserable, lackluster, soul-destroying experience. Thank you, Penelope. I hated all of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I make new videos whenever I feel like it. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok because I'm a TikToker now. And, my God, I'll see you all for the next one. Goodbye. And thank you, Rob, for helping me edit my script. Goodbye.